Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am your host, RM, and of course, we have with us today Russ Whitfield. Russ, how are you?
Oh, good. Thanks, Oram. How are you?
I'm doing well. I feel great. I went out last night. It was kind of a crazy night, but it was good to get out. And there have been all these storms, Russ. It's freezing here in the States, unless you live in Florida, where apparently it's in the 90s. What's the temperature like where you are?
It's actually not so bad today. It's been bitter over the past couple of days, but it's warmed up a little bit today, to be honest with you. But no, it's not been great. It's been really, really, very cold. So yeah, but aside from that, I can't complain. I was working up in London last week, which I don't really like doing, but it was nice to see everybody. So yeah, um, and I'm looking forward to watching One More Shot tonight with the new Scott Adkins movie, which is a sequel to One Shot. So that's good. And also, I've got queued up The Bricklayer, and also I want to go and see The Beekeeper. So and the sequel, The Plumber. I don't know why there's a sudden rush of action movies that are named after generic or slightly non-generic job titles, but there we go.
Yep, they could go old school and have the candlestick maker next, but,
Exactly.
the baker and the and
Candleman.
yes. It'll be good, Russ. I'm sure someone's gonna throw that in there somehow. We got, uh, so many great films that are coming up this year, and I'm so excited. I haven't seen those films, so I'm looking forward to them as well, and I've been watching Reacher, which is in season 2, and it's been wonderful, Russ. Certainly enjoying myself with that series. Uh, and let's say hello to everybody, Russ, because we've got a nice group of people here today,
Mhm.
as usual. We got Tom Jr. Jackson here, moderator, collaborator, and good friend. We are all good people. Thanks for being here, Tom. Hope you are well this morning. And guys, don't forget to check out Russ's Amazon storefront. The link is right here in the chat, and of course, it's in the description. Um, Also, check out Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel as well. The link is also here in the chat. Um, I want to say hello to Mario Lopez.
Hello, Mario.
Hey, Mario, how are you today? Hope you are well. We also have Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington says, Brunchers assemble.
All right, gal.
Yes, yes, we are all here in full force. Good to see you, Gary. Irene is here, says, anyone else thinking of Taylor Swift this morning? Well, apparently you are, Irene. It's good to see you. Did something happen that we should be thinking of Taylor Swift, Irene?
Yeah, I
I'm
can't say I spend a lot of time thinking about Taylor Swift. I'm sure she's great, but I couldn't even name one of her songs. That because I'm old.
Wildest Dreams is the song of hers that I like the most. She made a video with Clint Eastwood's son. It's smoking hot video. And that's why I like that song as well. Yeah, the only thing missing, actually, I guess there was kind of a sex scene, but the only thing missing from the video was a hot sex scene. But I was like, wow, Taylor Swift is growing up. No, it didn't happen, but it was a great video when it came out. So that's what I think of when I think of Taylor Swift. Also, we have Dino Dinosaur. Hey there. Says good morning, good afternoon, RM, Russ, and Tom. We will survive, Russ. Ooh.
I don't know what that means, Dino, or Dino. Is it Dino or Dino? We still don't know.
Still
Uh,
don't know.
mate, I'm sorry. Is that like we will survive Russ as though I'm like a sort of plague? I don't know.
Is it like a Gloria Gaynor thing?
I don't know.
We also have Bonzo Kilborn. Bonzo says, can't stay long. I said sail. Oh my goodness, really, Bonzo? To a far off land to slay dragons under the banner and for the glory of the fair lady at RM. Oh, Bonzo, I don't know whether this is role playing or whether you're in the military, but if it's either case, I wish you well. And certainly, I understand. I have a very close friend who has a kid who is a submariner as well. If that's the case, Bonzo, we do appreciate you. We also have who else is here? Joe Tyson. Russ, good
Ah,
to
Big Joe on time this week. I'm pleased to see.
fantastic to see you, Joe Tyson. Such a pleasure. We also have Bruce Lamb. Bruce, how are you today?
Hey, Bruce.
Hope you are well. and so good to see you. I've been seeing you over the weekend. You were there for the amazing live watch party we did with For All Mankind, which was incredible. It was incredible. You were also said that you're looking forward to watching The Beekeeper as well. Good to see you for sure.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. Like, the Action Elite website really rate it, and I've seen a few things as I've been scrolling through Instagram. I don't really have an Instagram, but I like scrolling through it. And yeah, I've just seen nothing but thumbs up. Probably generic, but Statham films are generic. What was that one he did? And he was like he was working for like a security company, and his son was killed, and it was brilliant, and I forget what it's called now, but he was basically undercover. He was a crime boss that went undercover. um
I don't know the one, but didn't we watch a Statham film last year together at your house?
mm,
Did we?
Possibly, yeah, we did. Was it Hummingbird, when he was a homeless veteran?
It was the one where that chick was fighting in lingerie.
um
Amber Valera?
oh no, shit, the Transporter.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
one of his first ones. That was the one that put him on the map. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Amber Valera, and I had to give her credit for doing the film in lingerie. I was like, "Thank you, whoever thought of this.
Mm.
This is the best thing ever. Like, who can do that? She can." And I also want to say hello to a performing artist who says, "Hello,
Oh,
art."
hello.
And Russ, well, hello to you. Hope you are well this morning, a performing artist. And certainly we're getting some. Oh, Irene mentions Crank. Don't forget Crank.
Yeah, that was good. And then there was Crank 2, wasn't there?
Hmm.
um there were some crazy films, those ones, yeah.
Didn't we watched Crank? It's didn't we? We watched another one where oh no, actually maybe it was the other one.
Yeah, I
But
think so.
it's so great to see you all. Mario Lopez says For All Mankind was so great. It was amazing, Mario, and I'm so glad I did the live watch party. And I didn't know whether we could do it because sometimes the way that these companies announce they're going to premiere a show, it's not always at the same time. And finally, around I guess 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 11, whatever time it was, they let the show go live on Apple TV. So I was able to watch it live with Julian Mushkin, and I can't tell you how happy I was. It is a spoiler for those of you who did see it. I hope you saw it, but I was jumping up and down for joy when Lee's wife showed up on Mars. That was the one thing that I said, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And so many people were like, no, no, it's too difficult to get his wife out of North Korea. It's not going to happen. I'm like, hell no. I said, do you realize this is a different age and time? They can get her to the Mars. And they did. I was so happy. I just can't. I was just so elated over that. Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington says, "How many twists and turns for the finale?" I was Godsmacked. I was Godsmacked too. Russ, it's such a great show. The beats and the way that they wrote this finale was perfect. Russ, I haven't seen anything like this in so long. Everything that made sense to happen happened. And what an ending. It just was so incredible. Russ, do you watch For All Mankind?
No, I don't, but I've only heard good things about it, and I have a special place in my heart for All Mankind, because it's so nice listening to you talk about it and Rob talk about it and people that really, really enjoy it. There's so much hate and negativity about franchises that we know are damaged, and it's just great to hear fans like really, really enjoying something and not have these constant, what do they call it, social identity politics arguments with each other about it. It's just like a show that everybody gets behind, everybody loves. So I really will have to tune into it. Also, I need to watch Reacher as well. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it, and it sounds awesome. That's the main thing.
Thank you so much, Russ. And Russ, I think you would enjoy it if you watch it, but I also think you will enjoy Reacher if you haven't seen season 1 and 2.
I saw the
Reacher,
first season, yeah, it was really
yes,
good. But it's just a question of getting around to it and investing the time into it. I mean, the one series that I really was invested in was The Last Kingdom. I loved that, and I binged that with Sam. And Vikings was good, but The Last Kingdom was awesome. So I get behind something, I will watch it. It's just a question of putting the time aside to do it.
Absolutely, Russ. And you and I both have less time these days. A lot of us have less time as our lives are getting busier with other things for sure. But it's so good to be here on Sunday Brunch. And it's so good to see Stavros is here. Hi,
All right,
Stavros.
Stavros.
Good to see you, Stavros. It's such a pleasure. And certainly, yeah, it's so great that to see all of your comments here. Let's see. Bruce Lamb also says For All Mankind was awesome. And Bruce, we did see you there at the live stream. You were also at the streams that I was doing with Darth Playo for the Pacific, which was wonderful, guys. I only live stream maybe for 2 or 3 shows these days. Since For All Mankind has ended, I'm going to continue with the Pacific on Fridays, and that's going to be with Darth Plato, and also musings when Robert and I and Lael can do the show, and then this show. So these are the only live streams that I do nowadays. But it's so great to see you all there. Um, yeah, thank you for that. Is there a wife on Mars? I love it. Russ, there was this one storyline and For All Mankind, and it was just such an incredible story. This man, he'd probably been on Mars for 10 years and he hadn't seen his wife. And he found out about this people dealing like underground stuff, like you could buy cigarettes and all this sort of stuff underground. And he helped out one of the guys they had an illegal still where they were making booze, and he said, "Look, I'll help you out, but I there's one thing I'm going to ask that I want you guys to bring me, and that's my wife." And they're like, "What? You want us to smuggle your wife into Mars?" Like, it was the craziest thing ever,
Hmm.
Russ. And, the idea that even putting forward the notion that you could smuggle a person onto another planet, at least in this context where it seemed impossible, it was just the joy of seeing his face. Because even when they told him she's here, I think he didn't believe it. And then you could see his face. I'm spoiling it for you. But it really was unbelievable. Now, Joe, a lot of people were talking about, is For All Mankind a prequel for other shows? I heard someone say that they felt For All Mankind was a prequel for The Expanse, and that I do believe that that might be the case, at least for how I felt about it. And now you're suggesting that it could be a prequel for Babylon 5. Wow. I hadn't thought about that. Joe, I think when we see a series and it's so much fun, it's so enjoyable, and then we think it's a prequel for another fantastic series that does tell you something about the impact it's having and the engagement and the excitement of surrounding it. Robert, when I spoke to him on Friday night, told me that he had the pleasure of seeing the finale on a screen, on a movie screen, with the stars and the cast and the crew of For All Mankind on Thursday night. He went with Bill Hunt and a bunch of other people in his circle. So he himself, he'd already seen it, but what an experience. And there's been so much buzz about it. They haven't announced season 5 yet. Hopefully they will. It has not been announced yet, as Robert told me. They haven't announced it. That's all he kept saying. They didn't announce season 5. And I said, okay. So we don't know, but they haven't announced it yet. So we're not
Did it
sure.
end in such a way that it could end?
Yes, it did, and I would
Mm.
be satisfied if it ended where it did. It they don't usually do that, actually, but this particular time, the way it ended, I would be satisfied if they came back. It's gonna be 10 years down the line when they would continue the series. I'd be happy with it, Russ, and I can't say that about every single show I've ever seen.
Maybe they should just leave it.
Yeah,
Because
no.
it's always diminishing returns, isn't there? I remember the last season of Battlestar Galactica, the reboot, and it just I always thought they should have ended that with another mini series as opposed to that last season just seemed overly long. I actually like the end of I think it was the fourth season where they just ended up on Earth and there just been a nuclear war and it was like an irradiated wasteland. I just thought that would have been the perfect place to leave it. Like they just hope that's it. That they're they're screwed. That they're going to be traveling forever looking for. They're never going to find Earth. They found it. It's sorry. They found Earth. It's a nuclear wasteland. What are we going to do? Find somewhere else, and off we go into space. I would have loved it if they'd left it there, but they didn't. And I just felt that the last season of that just went on too long. Not that it soured the entire experience, and you'd hope that with a series that I haven't seen, but everyone says is consistently excellent, like For All Mankind, maybe it will be good. Like everything's resolved. Don't keep reaching for the next bit and the next bit and the next bit. Perhaps it had a story and that story has been told, and that's I think a lot of franchises could could learn from that, perhaps.
I agree, Russ, and I think that knowing when to stop, especially for a series that has this level of content, this level of layers, is so important. Robert was talking about how they learned how to do the show, or at least I believe this is what we were talking about on Friday night. About how they wanted to write the show, and they said that they were very careful to keep every character updated in the show. So that meant that when this person was going through whatever they were going through, they would go back to this character and they go back to another character, and it's continuous. So you know what's going on. It feels as if it's a real time story because in a way they're kind of telling it in a real time way.
Hmm.
And I thought that was very interesting. And certainly that is what we want. We want to know what's going on with these characters, but just such an incredible series. And yes, it is good to know when to walk away from something that you've written. And there was so much in the series, Russ. This isn't sort of an ordinary series. I think it was as complex and involved as what they did with the Expanse television series, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
But
another excellent show.
yes,
Yeah,
another.
I didn't really like The Expanse, but I watched The Expanse with some degree of satisfaction. I think I didn't really enjoy it, but I watched the whole thing, just because it was so well made and so well acted, and so uh, it just felt real, and it was everything that you wanted in a show that, done right. Like, we talk about like diversity and things like that. Well, that show was completely diverse, but no one sort of made a thing about it. It was just, this is what space is like, and I just thought it was wonderful. Even if I didn't like it that much, I enjoyed it. I don't quite know how to articulate my feelings on The Expanse. I appreciated it. There you go. That's what I did.
Yeah, and Robert and I were talking about how we do appreciate certain things, even if it's not our favorites, let's say. It might not be
Mhm.
your favorite, we appreciate it. But then we also had a very interesting conversation about how someone had said, "What's your favorite movie? What's a movie that you really love, but you know the movie is not good?" And I think that might be an interesting question to ask because there's always one movie that, and this is not The Expanse, it's not For All Mankind. We're talking about sometimes there are movies that are not great, but you do love them anyway. And it is very interesting. Joe Tyson, thank you for mentioning a prequel to Babylon 5. I love the thought of that. Stavros says he's just watched episode 4 of Echo and it left him in tears. Wow.
Yeah, is that any good? Because I saw some clips of that and it looked good, dare I say. It actually looked like a decent show. But then again, I only saw clips of it, so trailers of it, or what, you know.
I
Let
haven't
us know, Stavros. What do you think? Did you see it, or
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, and I'm gonna watch it. I don't have as much free time as I used to have, just like you, Russ. We don't have as much time. It's just the truth. Things are kind of opening up, and we're involved in different projects and things, and we don't have the time that we used to during those pandemic years. It's the truth.
Mm.
I had a lot more time. I was at home 24/7, and it was very different. Even though I was working more hours for my job, I still had more time than I have now. So go figure. Um, but I want to see Echo and figure out and see if it's good. It certainly would. The marketing of Echo is nice. The marketing campaign looks
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I mean, it looked good. Like I say, I've not any particular interest in seeing it, but I'd be interested to hear if it was any good or not. Because obviously the usual suspects just shit all over it because it was a Marvel product. But I thought, no, maybe this looks all right. But again, I don't know.
Well, I guess the last show I had watched from them was Miss Marvel, and I watched it and I said it was all right. Miss Marvel for me felt more like a children's show,
Mm.
and I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be a children's show as well, which is totally fine if it is. But I was not as excited in the outcome of Miss Marvel. It fell flat for me. However, for there are some people I know who did enjoy it, and I'm happy for them as well. Stavros has been watching Percy Jackson. I've been watching Percy Jackson, Stavros. And he says it's been a delight and a winner. I'm so glad you like it. I've been enjoying it. And I want to see what the next episodes show, Stavros. So certainly thank you for bringing up Percy Jackson as well, which has been getting a lot of advertising. Like they are spending tons of money advertising Percy Jackson. So that campaign, in regards to making people aware it exists, is a success. Um, uh, Irene says, I understand what it means to be one's Roman Empire now. Do you, Irene? Have you been going to Roman Empire Matters? I sure hope you have. I only have one a half an hour episode on Roman Empire Matters, but I did just want to mention that I do have a new channel called Roman Empire Matters. And as you say, if it's got Romans in it, it's in. We review the first episode of I, Claudius. Half of the episode is up there. So do check it out if you'd like to see that. And I missed Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies, who says, greetings and felicitations. Hip, hip, hurrah, tally ho. Yes. Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies. It's happening. It's happening. It's so good to see you, Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies. Just make sure that I have everybody here because I missed that one. Certainly, there was another one up here. Let's see what we have. Stavros, yes, says, let's see, what do we have? Sorry, guys. Oh, yeah, Bruce has not watched Reacher at all, Bruce. You will love it if you see it. And certainly do check it out. I recommend it. Let's see. Tom says he's been watching one episode of Reacher a week and he thinks he's on episode 5. That's great, Tom. I'm so glad. Now, Russ, I do want to ask you this question about what your, let's say, a movie that you like that is not a great movie, but you love this movie, even though it's not a great movie.
It's pretty much every film that I like could be described in that way. Like I'm a massive fan of the Resident Evil movies, and
Oh,
they're shit.
yes.
But the
Yes.
first one's actually okay. It's that they just get progressively worse. In terms of, or if it's not too much of an oxymoron, the films that get objectively worse, I think you could certainly say that about Resident Evil. Underworld, I love those. Apparently they're terrible movies. Apparently Rebel Moon is a terrible movie. Apparently Batman versus Superman is a terrible movie. What else do I like that's a terrible movie? Rocky 4, terrible movie. Apparently I love it. Commando, terrible movie. I love it. What else? What's recent that I really, really like? Expendables 4. I really liked Expendables 4. I mean, it was the weakest of the Expendables, and by all counts, a bad movie. But I thought it was all right. I didn't hate it. It was perfectly inoffensive as far as as far as I'm concerned.
Well, another one that I'm going to say that I loved was called God, it's the one with Elizabeth. Is it Elizabeth Berkley?
Showgirls.
Yes, Showgirls.
Isn't that now? Hasn't that been retrospectively reassessed as a classic? A bit, not like like The Thing, which apparently was the worst movie of all time ever to be committed to film, and everybody hated it, and it was just an excuse for violence and gore, and now retroactively has been canonized as is one of the greatest science fiction horrors vis-a-vis films of all time. Same with Showgirls. I don't think it's as bad as everybody says it was, but I haven't seen it for the longest time, and I really think I must get the special edition Blu-ray because apparently it's packed full of special features, and that's what I like. I love special features. So
That sounds fantastic, and certainly Showgirls would be one of the ones, a little bit more of a guilty pleasure, I admit. But I loved that film, and it was not received well at all. However, Elizabeth Hurley's a great Elizabeth Burke. It's Berkeley, right?
mm,
She's a great dancer. She was a wonderful dancer, and I enjoyed the film. And it's supposed to entertain you guys. It's supposed to be a film about sexy dancers. That's what it's about. And they are supposed to arouse you. And if that happens at least once during the film, then it's actually achieved its purpose. A performing artist says he hasn't seen Aspen Extreme. Now that's the movie I mentioned, Aspen Extreme. Paul Gross is in it. He and this other his friend go to Aspen. I'm laughing about the film. They go to Aspen because they want to be ski instructors for the rich and famous. And you got Finola Hughes, who plays this rich bitch who like gets all the hot ski instructors and she eats them for breakfast and spits them out for lunch. You know,
Mm.
like it's and I'm like, this is a great film.
Is it one of those sort of like mid to late 80s sex comedies with like just girls running around with their boobs out for absolutely no reason?
It's more of a Paul Gross is, it's more of a rich bitch finds hot ski instructors and kind of passes them around until they're done and finds the next hot ski instructor kind of
Okay.
film. And of course, I'm fantasizing that I'm like Finola Hughes in the movie because that's how it has to be. But how great, what a great film, what a great concept, Russ. It
Mm.
was so wonderful. I do think that the film is fantastic. However bad it may be, Robert said he liked Tough Turf. I love Tough Turf,
I haven't
you
seen
know
that one.
and he was kind of laughing at himself because of what was in the film. I said, "Oh, you think that's what I used to think? Wait till you see Aspen." He knew the film, which kind of shocked me. I don't really know very many people who know that film, but if you've ever watched, I think it's called Due South or Due North. He's a guy. Paul Gorsey plays a Mountie in that story, and he's in it. He's smoking hot. So
Mm.
of course, I was going to watch this film. So, a performing artist says, "Have you ever seen Extreme Ops, the fictional 2002 competitive snowboarding movie?" No, I have not.
No, I haven't seen that, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I like the
Extreme Ops.
extreme. Yeah, it's like
I'm
yeah,
sure I've seen a film called Extreme Ops. I must have, with Thomas Ian Griffiths as a ex-CIA guy on the run. But I haven't seen that one.
it sounds fantastic, and I want to see it, especially if there's like hot snowboarding guys in it. So yeah, that's all we want. That's all we're asking for. Stavros says the Golden Globe Awards ended up being a disaster. What about host? Well, what's funny, Stavros? I reviewed the Golden Globes live right here on Positive Fandom in the Burnettwork with Catherine Cook, and we couldn't hear the show. I couldn't hear the show because I couldn't, the way I was watching it and broadcasting, I couldn't hear it. And so I didn't hear the jokes or anything, but the awards, the winners was amazing. Russ, did you hear about the winners of the Golden Globes? I mean, did
Oh,
you?
funnily enough, I did not. I just haven't. It literally didn't pass my social media stream at all.
Well, it was a fun show, and the winners were spread out evenly across the board. And I prefer, it doesn't have to be that way, but I prefer when that happens. Everybody seemed to have gotten a little award here and there, and I thought
Hmm.
that was nice. Um, so let's see. Uh, what's going on this week? Old Yorkshire Geeks here. Hey, Old Yorkshire Geek.
Hey, man.
I thought you were playing Assassin's Creed. Um, what did you finish? I could have sworn I saw you streaming Assassin's Creed literally a few minutes ago. I hope you're well. Old Yorkshire Geek says it's my headcanon prequel for Star Trek. Even though Star Trek is mentioned in it, Trek is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and he, of course, is talking about For All Mankind. It's mentioned at least twice. We see at least one person who was on a Star Trek, Linda Park, who was in what I can't remember which series it was, but she was in the one with it might be no, I don't remember what it's called. Enterprise. She was in Enterprise, which is an actual Star Trek series, but also uh Danielle is the one who's the hardcore Trekkie, and she actually mentions in season 10, although she mentioned Star Trek earlier, she mentions in season 10 that she's going to raise her grandchildren as Trekkies, which I love hearing anybody say that. So much fun talking about this. Stavros says Monarch Monarch the epic series is ending. Is it Monarch of the Butterflies, Monarch of the Flies, or um yeah, when you say it's ending, what do you mean? Is it over? And Irene says she's looking forward to the Walking Dead series, Rick and Michonne. So am I, Irene. So am I. After Daryl Dixon last year. Wow, what a fantastic series that was. I hope they can kick some more ass. 10, 15 years later. Luminara is here. Good morning, Luminara. How are you? Hope
Hello,
you are
Lumina.
well. The queen of Figure Flex Friday. Luminara is here and the best cosplayer I've ever seen. Luminara, I hope you are well this morning. Um, now, let's see. Bruce says that would have been a great idea for BSG, Russ.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the where I said they just should have left it at the end of season 4. They just find irradiated Earth, and they realise that their quest is over and it's failed, and they have to find somewhere else. And that would be the end of it, and it could leave you open now for a continuation 20 years down the line with a new cast of people and so on and so on. But they didn't do that. It's still a well beloved show. But thank you. I mean,
Absolutely. And that's what's happened in The Expanse, Russ, where they ended it in season 6, as well as where it jumps in from one book. There's, I don't know how many
mm,
books are in The Expanse. Maybe it's 8. The book series has maybe 8 books, and in one of the books, it jumps, I think, 30 years.
hmm
So, it's a new generation, right? 30 years is a new generation. So,
yeah,
I think it is interesting that in The Expanse they decided to do that. And what they were saying is that they are going to come back eventually and maybe start the series, but like over again because it went 6 seasons, which I'm sure you were aware of, Russ. You
yeah, yeah,
probably.
yeah, yeah. So it was on Amazon here.
Yeah. And that old Yorkshire geek says, I imagine For All Mankind ending with a young engineer positioning his idea. Positioning his idea for a warp
Positing.
drive. I'm sorry, go ahead. Um,
Positing his idea for a warp drive just as World War III kicks off. That's your Star Trek pitch, right?
yes, yes. And that makes sense, right? Old Yorkshire geek. And we talk about that. Norwegian Kryptonian is here.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Norwegian Kryptonian. Hope you are well. Good to see you today. It's so much fun to see all of you. And many of you guys are talking about this. Um, Stavros talks about just like the Everwood series, it will always be a 4-season wonder. Interesting.
Yeah, well,
Interesting.
like I say, there's nothing wrong with that. Just sometimes good things have to end, and then you'll always like. I tell you, what was brilliant was DC animated universe Justice League. Right, there was season 1 and season 2 of Justice League, and season 1 and season 2 of Justice League Unlimited, and then it stopped, and that was it. And you never got any. Well, you did get one more, maybe 20 years later, which was connected to it. But that season was complete in and of itself, and it was wonderful.
Absolutely. And Bonzo says you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. Absolutely.
hmm
Performing artist says that a Succession knew when to stop. Um,
I haven't
and
seen it.
I haven't seen it either. But they won awards. They won awards. They won a
Apparently it was awesome. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah, and the many of the cast won a Golden Globe award, and I think they won for best show at the Golden Globes. So they got a lot of awards for it as well. Bonzo says The Expanse was incredible. RM streaming the game reminded me to do a rewatch. First 3 seasons still incredible. Isn't it great, Bonzo? And yes, they have this game that's incredible. And I probably did show you guys. Do I have it here? I probably did show you guys Bonzo, since we're just since I have it next to me, that I got the book. This is supposed to fill in. It's The Expanse. Wait, I have to unblur because you won't be able to see it. Hold on one second. Just bear with me. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Virtual background, none. Okay, because you can see I'm in my bedroom. But if I didn't do that, you won't be able to see the book. The Expanse, Dragon Tooth. It was a Boom Kickstarter, and they just delivered these comics that fills in. It says picking up after the final season of the acclaimed and beloved Expanse show and filling in the missing years between Expanse Babylon's Ashes and Expanse Persepolis Rising. The hidden stories of your favorite Expanse characters are revealed for the first time. Everything comes together, everything, tying the threads of the show and answering lingering questions that bring readers and viewers alike far beyond the stellar horizon. It's the first of a trilogy of graphic novels. So it's the first in a trilogy of graphic novels. Some of you ordered the Kickstarter. I didn't
it's crowdfunded then, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't order the Kickstarter. I just bought it from a regular dealer because it's
Mm.
also available. You can buy it on Amazon. It's called The Expanse Dragon Tooth. This is thing one. The artwork inside is nothing to talk about. it's nothing to talk about. However, I don't care. I want to find out this story about what happens to everybody, all these famous characters that we love. I just like the artwork on the front. I think it's beautiful. I think that looks cool. You can see Naomi, played by I think her name is Dominique Tipper. Amos, played by Wes Chatham, and of course, oh God, Holden, played by I think his name is Straight, is the actor's name, and of course
Can
the
you,
Roselle.
sorry, can you bear with me just for 1 second? I just need to get a drink.
Certainly, certainly, no problem doing that. And guys, it is very interesting. I'm just gonna take him out just for a second. He will be back in a second. Um, yeah, The Expanse book. I wasn't sure if you saw this, Bonzo, but here's the back. The back looks incredible. Um, and I think it was, I can't remember. I think it was like maybe 20 bucks. As I said, the the artwork is nothing to talk about, but I don't care because it tells the story that we want to know about what happens to the characters. And that's all I want to know about. This is volume one. I still haven't finished the game. Bonzo, I'm going to come back and finish this game. I promise you, I will finish The Expanse on my channel. So have no fear. I might have to restart it because I can't remember what I did in the first episode. But that's okay. And that's why I like The Expanse. One thing I am going to tell you is that if you play the game and you stream it, and you can't play the music to The Expanse because it YouTube stops you. It's like copyrighted. So don't you have to cut out the music. But with the music, it felt like I was watching the show. It's
Hmm.
the same exact music, Russ, as the television show. Um, okay, so let's see what we got here. Tom says he watched the first 2 episodes of Echo. One episode. He's watching episode 2. Keely Chow's here, Russ.
Hey, Keely.
Good to see you, Keely Chow. So glad you are here. And who else is here? Darth Plato is here. Hey, Darth Plato.
Oh, hey, hello.
And Old Yorkshire Geek says, you have to say it like that. I Claudius.
Hmm.
Claudi something. It's Claudius. It's the B. Thanks so much, Old Yorkshire Geek. So much fun. Time Cop. Russ, have you seen Time Cop?
Fuck yes. Of course I've seen Time Cop. Fucking hell.
And stop. Time Cop is on everybody's list. I love Time Cop. It's fantastic. And yeah, I guess maybe some people would put it in a
Was it Ron Silver? Was he the sort of like the baddie in it? The sort of 80s sort of slimy late 80s bad guy that was in, he was a slimy bad guy and everything, beard and sort of dark hair, right? I think that was him. Or was it Gene Simmons? I can't remember who was the bad. Oh, no, Gene Simmons was the baddie in the Tom Selleck one with the Runaway. Yeah.
well, what a wonderful series, excuse me, movie. And then I guess you could also add a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme films. Like was he in Cyborg? Maybe he wasn't in Cyborg.
Mm,
He was.
he was, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best movies ever made.
We only see cuts of that.
Oh no, I did not know that.
Yeah, so there's a canon cut, which is the Cyborg movie that we all know, but Albert Payne, the director, released a director's cut of it, and you can buy them both as a sort of box set now to see the original vision and the cinematic version, which is what we got. And apparently, they're very, very different films.
I didn't know that, and I might have to get it because it's one of my favorite films. And I think there's one scene where he does a kick and it goes through like a window, like it goes through a window. And I still I'm still impressed with that scene, Russ.
I was going to say though, our Jean-Claude Van Damme film where he kicks someone through a window, you're gonna have to narrow it down. You know,
The glass is still up. That's what I was like,
but
oh
he
my
does that
god,
in
oh my god. Yeah, he
in
does it more than
Hard
once.
Target as well. He kicks the bloke out through the window of the diner, doesn't he? And
Yeah. But he's in a car and like I think he kicks out. I could be wrong, but I think that's what happened. And like my jaw was like, oh my god.
well,
And then
you're
of
not wrong.
course,
It's a Jean-Claude Van Damme film where someone gets kicked through a window. You will be right. It just depends on what film it is.
and I also like Under Siege. That was another one.
That's Seagal
Yeah, yeah. And of
and
course,
Erika Eleniak.
yeah, and of course the birthday cake part is also one of my favorite parts. So
Everybody's favorite part.
yeah. Who doesn't like, and they let her fight. Like they give her, like she becomes
Yeah,
part.
she was good. She was good,
Yeah.
Erika Eleniak.
So
Cool name as well.
Yes, and Stubble is here, says, "Hi, gang. I'm fashionably late to the Sunday brunch show." You can't be late to Sunday brunch. You whatever time you arrive is always the right time, Stubble. Um, and thanks so much, Old Yorkshire Geek, who says, "You are allowed to like what you like." Yes, Old Yorkshire Geek, and there's so much to like out there. And thank you, Bonzo, for the support for subscribing to Roman Empire Matters. Stavros says, any Van Damme, Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee, uh, those action are awesome, and Mortal Kombat original. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't mind the remake actually of Mortal Kombat. I thought it was serviceable and violent and all the rest of it, but apparently it upset game fans. And that seems to be a bit of a trend with me. Like I tend to like these movies that are attached to game franchise because I'm not a gamer, so it doesn't. I'm not offended because I don't play the game, so therefore I don't know all of the lore and stuff like that. But apparently it did a bit of lore trampling. But the '90s one by Paul W.S. Anderson, who did the Resident Evil movies and Event Horizon, um, and Aliens versus Predator. Yeah, it's such a good film. The first one. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it just lands. It just lands. It ticks all the boxes.
That sounds exciting to even rewatch these films. It feels so good to do this. Darth Plato mentions the 13th Warrior,
It's a
another
brilliant film. I
one.
love that film, and the
And
music's brilliant as well. Yeah.
absolutely. Stubble says he watched Saltburn, which a lot of people are talking about, and said it was weird, but it looks like a weird film. The way it's advertised, it looks weird, right? Like it's supposed to be kind of an artsy, avant-garde kind of film.
Then I've
It's
seen it. I've seen it on Amazon, on the homepage of Amazon, but I haven't bothered watching it yet.
yeah, and well, Stubble, let me know if it's an art if it's an art film, it's going to be sometimes they can be weird, right, Russ?
Mm.
Some of those art films can be kind of weird. Um, Dr. Sleep. Hey, Dr. Sleep. How are you? Hope you are well. Welcome to Sunday Brunch. Says, I had high hopes for Echo, but unfortunately, it's pale comparison to the Netflix Daredevil show. He says the writing is terrible. Kingpin is written as an idiot with none of the menace and intelligence. You know, it's interesting. That Netflix Daredevil show was amazing.
It's a high
So
bar, isn't it?
yeah, that's the Daredevil we all wanted, and, you know, and for somebody, let's say, like me, I didn't even know anything about Daredevil before that. So when you're at that level of excellence, you know, and I wondered whether, you know, the show might be it, you know, it could be written for, you know, a different audience. I don't know. It's not a rated R show, it's not a hardcore show. It's not like, The Punisher, which started off strong and then ended up kind of not so great. But, we're overdue for something a little hardcore. I think Reacher is good, but when it comes to superhero, it'd be a nice hardcore superhero, thing to see, coming up. I don't know. I feel like, it's too bad that you did not enjoy it. Sorry, Doctor Sleep. Mario Lopez says that his bad movie is that he likes DOA, Dead or Alive. Now, I don't know this film,
Oh,
Russ.
it's also from Paul W.S. Anderson's company. He didn't direct it. I forget who directed DOA, but he certainly produced it. I love that. My friend's in that. Natasha's in that. She plays the sister of the ninja.
Oh,
No, no, hang on a minute. No, Natasha's the she's supposedly out there to kill them, but she's actually in love with the Ninja Prince or something like that. It's such a brilliant film. It's got Jamie Presley in it as Tina, and Devon Aoki's the main character, and it's just hot chicks with swords. It's awesome, and it knows exactly what it is. Holly Valance is in it
okay.
um, as Christy, I think her name is. Yeah, it's great. I
Oh,
love it.
I know this girl. She was in, Sin
She was
City.
she was a pop star, Holly Valance.
Oh,
Mm,
wow, look at this. This does look good.
yeah. Someone did an edit of it where you get to see her boobs.
Oh my gosh, what fun.
That's brilliant. It's
Yeah,
brilliant.
that looks like fun, that looks like fun, Mario. What fun. Thanks for letting me know about it. I might have to add that one to my list.
You have to add that one to your list. It's a bona fide classic. I actually want to see it again now. I've got it on DVD. Maybe I
Oh
should order it
wow.
on Blu-ray. Mm.
How I love these creative things, like with the bra, and like I said, obviously, if I liked seeing Amber Valeria do kung fu in lingerie, of course I'm gonna love something
Well,
like
they do
this.
kung fu in bikinis, and there's a whole, there's like an extended beach volleyball sequence where all these girls are playing beach volleyball. It had nothing to do with the plot other than the fact that, you know, it's, that's the kind of film it is,
Well,
basically.
they do the same thing in Top Gun and in Top Gun Maverick, and it has the volleyball playing or the football playing have absolutely nothing to do with the movie whatsoever, and yet we have to see the skin. That like it's part of the appeal. We want to see, these fine young things in their fine fit form. Um, Bruce Lamb says, "Can't wait for the 3 to 4 hour of Rebel Moon director's cut. It's
Yeah,
kind
we've spoken about this, Bruce, a few
Mhm.
times on the channel now. I
Yeah.
don't. I know what the official reason is why they released this cut, but the reception that the film has received, and you kind of like, if you were to get yourself involved in an online argument or debate about it, you kind of know that the 3 or 4 hour cut is going to be better and fill out all of the issues that everybody is attacking the film for. You know that they won't be present in the 3 hour cut. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, and I imagine, Russ, you and I are going to review the extended cut, right?
Oh, for sure.
Okay,
I'm,
so
I'm
we're gonna
sure it's gonna. I'm thinking it might be masterpiece level.
yeah, and we're gonna do a special show for that one, guys. So certainly there's gonna be a lot of chatter about it. I still have a lot to say about that, the one that I saw with Mike Lito, which you also, Russ, saw in the theater, and it was amazing.
Mm.
As you and I both agree, it would have been great to have seen the extended cut in the theater.
In the
Um,
theater, I mean, at least do that. As I said, the
mhm.
only people going to see it are Snyder Bros and reviewers. They're the only, nobody else knew about it. So, but they didn't.
Luminara says Spice World is a classic. Yes, I loved Spice World. I love the Spice Girls. I've forgotten about that film. Certainly, it is a great film, and they're good. They're good in movies. They should have made a ton of films. These girls, yeah, like they should have milked it to a point where they were literally in a walker and still making films because they are so photogenic and they can sing and dance. They're entertaining. It doesn't even matter whether the group is together or not. I don't care. Their movies are fantastic. I agree, Luminar. They really kind of passed the buck. I don't know whether it costs more money to make a movie for a group back then than it does now, but they should have thrown a ton of money into that and continued with more movies of the Spice Girls. They should have made one every year. Um, and Joe Tyson says he loves The Thing. Irene said, here's one, Shakma, a 1990s sci-fi horror where they LARP and then this balloon goes off and kills everyone. Or baboon. A baboon goes
That
off.
sounds like you just invented that because you were on drugs. A sci-fi horror where they LARP and then a baboon goes off and kills everyone. What the hell?
I've never heard of it before.
What the hell, Irene?
It's true. No, it exists. It exists. Irene, is this no, this sounds a little different. But Shockma, and I am gonna present it. I've never heard of this film before, but I'm sure Robert has.
She swears it's a real movie.
It is. Well, I'm looking at it. A group of medical students are attacked by. See, this is a movie that was like one of those inspired by Flatliners. A group of medical
Right.
students are attacked by an aggressive laboratory animal while competing in an after-hours role-playing game at their school.
Well, it's on Freevee.
It's available. Who knew? Irene, is this your favorite? Is this one of your favorites?
This is like the movie that you know is bad but you love it. I think we're still on that.
Irene, I'm going to check it out. Um, Certainly, I will check it out. And of course, Stavros is talking about the Spice World. It was so
Mm.
good. And Stavros says, I became a Posh and Scary Spice fan for a minute. I love it. Oh, what? You've seen both Aspen Extreme and Extreme Ops, Tom Jr. Jackson? No. Wow. You're impressing me. Um, And guys, so many of you are mentioning so many. Old Yorkshire Geek actually does do a lot of movies that would be
Oh,
considered.
fucking Virus is mint. There's nothing wrong with Virus and Catwoman. I really enjoyed Catwoman, and I watched it maybe 10 years ago, and I was trying to understand why people hated it so much, and I was just like, well, it's not Batman, and it wasn't supposed to be Batman. It was much more camp than that. It's almost like it was more. Yeah, well, I suppose it could have worked in the Burton verse. Yeah, again, I don't really know why it was hated as much as it was. And Halle Berry just, yeah, she was really good. But yeah, Virus was mint. That was really good. I really like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened in Virus. I remember Contagion. I remember when we had the lockdown, people were watching all these movies. You remember,
Mm-mm.
like, as soon as the lockdown happened, all of a sudden everybody's watching Contagion, Virus, like all this sort of stuff. And Enterprise, yes, thank you. That is the series that it was. But Virus, yeah, I got to rewatch that, Russ. I haven't seen that in ages. A performing artist says, I finished watching the Echo series this morning. I found it completely watchable and serviceable TV show. I like the down to earth depiction of the Choctaw Native American nation. Very touching. Interesting. Hmm, okay.
So
Um,
it sounds like performing arts just bang average. Is that what we're saying? Because I've seen it get shit on from a great height from the usual quarters. We've heard someone here saying it's not so great. So I don't know. I don't know.
Vicman de Santiago is here. Hi, Vicman.
Hello.
Says, hello, everybody. Long time no see. Nice to be here. Nice to see you as well. So glad that you are here. So let's see. Okay. Tom says he has the Expanse books. That is wonderful. And boy, I'm really behind, aren't I? Maria of Tea and Telly says, good morning, beautiful people.
Hello.
Good morning, Maria. How are you? Hope you are well. So good to see you, my dear. I hope you are doing well. Guys, everybody, Maria with Tea and Telly's channel is fantastic. It's so good to see you. I don't think I've seen you it might have been last week or the week before, but Maria, just so good to see you here this morning. And Tom Jr. Jackson says he sent me a picture of the book set of The Expanse and that he has a pic of the beautiful slipcase that come in. Oh, how nice, Tom. Thank you so much for that. Um, now, this might be getting towards more like what we were talking about because Russ, you and I do have a question of the week.
Hmm.
Um, a performing artist says, I hope James Gunn can match the success of the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited seasons 1 through 4 for the big screen. That would be the dream for me and finally match Marvel's success. I think that is such a good statement. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way. Last week, we had a question of the week, and of course, it's slipping my mind. Um, but certainly, we
I think it
have.
was Has a superhero movie killed Hollywood. Something like that, wasn't
Yes.
it?
Yes, it was, has a superhero movie killed Hollywood? That was, last week's question. Um, and what is this week's question? How would you fix the superhero? Wasn't it how would you fix the superhero?
Oh, I think it was Marvel. You said.
I know I wrote it down. Um, why is it not where it's supposed to be, Russ?
Well, you texted me.
Oh, that's where it is. Okay. Excellent.
WhatsApp me.
Yes. Okay. So let's see where it is. And the question of the week is, let's see. Yeah, the question of the week is, how do we restore the MCU?
Um, well, the obvious, aside from stop doing the message, I think that's the obvious. The obvious. I would take a pause, and I've been saying this for years. They should have stopped after Endgame and paused, and just like at the end of Endgame, have the X in a circle and the 4 in a circle coming soon. People would have lost their shit. Everyone would have gone crazy. The anticipation. Um, but I think the issues are well discussed, aren't they? There's too many shows. It's starting to feel like it's homework now because the most criticized one I think of that was Doctor Strange, wasn't it? And if you hadn't seen WandaVision, you're fucked. You didn't know what the hell was going on, and that's almost seems like a marketing strategy in a way. you can imagine them sitting there going, well, everybody loves our movies, like the whole world loves our films. So if we make it compulsory viewing for the TV shows, then more people are going to subscribe to Disney Plus in order to find out what's happening, so they can appreciate the movies. And of course, it hasn't panned out that way. And I think that saw recently, and it's been said for a long time, but it was again, it was going on. A lot of the animation houses now are just refusing to. They're turning away Disney work because they're saying that although it's good money, what they're asking for just can't be done in the amount of time that they want it done in, and the quality of their work is suffering, and their people are all going off with mental health issues from stress and so on like that. So how would I fix the MCU? I think it's a similar thing, uh, as with Star Wars, as with MCU. And what MCU used to have up until Endgame was a vision, a plan, a beginning, a middle, an end. And it was always going to end in one way. And they knew what was happening. They knew who the big bad was going to be, and so on and so on and so on. And they got there. And instead of stopping and mapping out a new plan, they just kept going and going and going. And are we on phase 5 now?
I think I don't know what phase, I'm sorry.
Yeah, nobody knows or cares, right? And that's the problem. Nobody cares. So to performing artists' point about, I hope James Gunn does this, that, and the other. Yeah, I hope so too. Although if we wanted that, you literally Bruce Tim and I think it's James Tucker, guys, they're right there down the hall in the animation department. Go and get them to do your DC universe. Everyone will love it. But I think that the apathy factor has kicked in for superhero movies as a whole, certainly for Marvel. Um, so fixing it would be difficult. Yes, I have. Oh, fuck's sake, Steve. My mate Steve's calling me. Keeps calling and calling and calling. He wants to talk about something, but obviously I can't take it now. Yeah, I have seen Dolph Lundgren's Punisher, and it was really, really good. I just remember him kneeling down in the darkness. Come on, God, why won't you kill me? I am the Punisher. It's brilliant. Yeah, he was naked. I didn't remember that as well. Kneeling naked in the dark. Where was I before I started talking about naked Dolph Lundgren?
You
Um,
you were
Superheroes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they don't have a vision, and that's how you fix it. You have a vision for what it is you want to achieve. Um, and I think you can take a leaf out of Star Wars, and I know everybody hates Disney Star Wars, right? They've done a couple of good things, but by and large, they're hated. But the first thing that they sort of did after they catastrophically shit the bed with the sequel trilogy, when they opened up Disney Plus, you know what they did? They took a risk with the Mandalorian. Like, it was a character that we didn't know. And all right, it had the safety blanket of a universe we kind of knew. But in another universe, the whole idea of a cutesy little baby Yoda could have got people spitting mad with the blatant commercialism of it. And, like, oh, fuck, this is just the thing to get us to buy cuddly toys. Oh, fuck Marvel. But you know what? It was good. It was okay. It was just good. It was decent Star Wars for once, and it was risky. So I think in order to save Marvel, you need a vision, and you need to start taking risks. And for Marvel, actually, risks would just be going back to what they did before and stop trying to make a boy's property into a girl's property. I think that's really what they've got to do. We've had this conversation before. We all like a kick-ass girl as much as the rest of the planet, but also many women want a strong guy to come and save them. It doesn't matter if they're karate experts. I told you about Cecily; she kicked so much ass, right? But at the end of the day, if we were to get mugged and we were walking down the street together, she's, she wouldn't be. I wouldn't be pushing her forward, going, "Yeah, go on, go, you go get them, girl." It's not what any woman wants. So I think they need to start leaning into their traditional values, or the traditional values that they used to have. Stop politicking because no, literally nobody cares, and people are sick of it now, and you can tell they're sick of it because their box office is going through the toilet. Like nobody cares. Just stop it. But you need a vision, and guess they were trying that with Kang the Conqueror, but was that his name, Kang? Kang,
Yes.
Kang, right?
Mhm.
Um, okay, he was going to be the next Thanos. Okay, well that hasn't worked out for obvious reasons, but perhaps perhaps you do more of an Echo, more of a Daredevil, more of that sort of thing, where you have the next Spider-Man film isn't about Kang or Thanos or whatever. Maybe that shit can be going on in the background. Maybe Doctor Doom's doing something, or Galacticus or Galactus, whatever his name is on his way. But maybe just start doing more character-based stuff with characters that you want to care about, and characters that don't lecture you about being a terrible person because of your skin color and your gender or whatever. That's what they need to get away from. And the problem therein, even as I'm saying it, is that Captain Marvel, the Marvels, the new one, apparently didn't have any of that in it, but everybody assumed that it would, and it suffered for it. And you're kind of looking at Echo, and apparently it sort of ticks. It might be the best show known to man, or whatever, but apparently she's a minority person with with a disability, and so on and so on. It's like it's become, they've done this so much that now it's a cliche, and it's almost become a meme with that stuff. So yeah, I think maybe more street level stuff, have an ongoing vision and take some risks, because it's
Yes.
too safe.
I agree, Russ, and I do just want to thank Maria with T and Telly for the $2 super chat. Says thank you both for your smiles this morning with a heart. And it looks like a chocolate dip cookie. At least that's what I see it as. Thank you so much, Maria with T and Telly. I so do appreciate your generosity, and you certainly are making me smile this morning. And Russ, I think that is very interesting. I think they need to go hardcore. I think that's what they need to do. And I know that this may not be something that they want to do. I know it's something that they don't traditionally do. Like a lot of these movies are not necessarily hardcore. The Punisher is like the only one I've seen where people really get pounded and bones are cracking all over the place. But I think if they went a little bit more adult in the rating and a little bit more adult in the content, it might be what some people want to see. The other thing that I think they could do is just go back to those comic book runs that have sold hundreds of thousands of copies. And I keep hearing about them. Someone's like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody say, well, they need to do this line or they need to do that series. And I'm thinking to myself, why aren't they doing those series? Why aren't they bringing back some of these incredible series that people want to see? I think in some of the animated things, they've been exploring more of these series and more of those stories. But even in Spider-Man, um, I'm not quite sure whether they're following a comic book run, and that one is something that is doing very, very popular, but it's not necessarily an adult story. It's not necessarily a hardcore story, like what we could see in No Way Home. I think the reason why, and it's not, of course, MCU, but the reason why it hit a lot of marks is because it did feel very back to the comic books feel.
Hmm.
So I think if they went ahead and made a run where it was back to the comic books feel and people were impressed with that, but they'd have to stick to the story that sold all those books. If they deviate from it, that's when people get disappointed and they're
Well,
expecting to see that same story.
there was that bloke, wasn't there, that comic shop owner, and of course he got attacked by all the comic book writers and the lunatic left people. But he's a business owner and he's going out of business, and he was nearly in tears. And he basically just, it boils down to this, that these characters, will be they DC. Oh, do you know what? Performing artist, I love Legend of Chun Li. It is awesome. I've got that on DVD. Anyway, this bloke was nearly in tears, and he's basically saying that these people that you're putting into you're just putting self inserts and your own, your own politics into these stories. And I don't want to read a story about, Russ Whitfield, the lover of Zack Snyder, dressed up as Superman, and like, and all that Russ Whitfield Superman talks about is how awesome Zack Snyder is. And who wants to read that? People want Superman, they want Captain America, they want Batman, they want Wonder Woman, they want the characters that they want. They don't want, I don't know, Spider-Man spouting all this crap that you believe in. Just tell me a Spider-Man story. That's what we want. And this is the guy, the comic book shop owner, articulated it far better than I just did. But yes, do that.
Yeah, and of course, thank you for your comments, a performer about more of what you enjoy. Luminar says X-Men. Um, and that's something to think about. I've enjoyed a lot of the X-Men movies, except for when they get, I think it was
Sure.
called Red Phoenix was the one that I kind of I'm like, what are they doing with this character? And they made Mike Fassbender look bad as Magneto, which I never thought could ever happen.
Mm.
Because I'm like, that's not Magneto.
But here's the thing, though, like especially with something like X-Men, in the current climate of the the philosophy behind Marvel and their social messaging, do you really want to see the X-Men? Because frankly, I don't. Because I can just imagine, like, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four are pretty much all they've got left now, and they have to get those right. And my fear is with the X-Men, I think that the sort of, the myth is it started off as like, sort of big allegorical thing about race relations and all that sort of thing, but has actually been sort of debunked as Stan Lee just couldn't be bothered to think up superpowers, so he just decided to make them all mutants, and then it took on the allegory. But in today, the way that Marvel have been doing stuff up until now, with that baggage of that connotation with the X-Men, I just think everyone would be sick in their own mouths, frankly, unless they course correct, which they have a chance to do because those films haven't been made, and there have been noises coming out of Disney that perhaps they've made a mistake here. Well, would they row back? Would they just row? Would they row it back on the Fantastic Four? Can you imagine the Fantastic Four movie from Disney with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Sue Storm, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Johnny Storm, a grey-eyed, side grey hair Mr. Fantastic, and a red-haired Ben Grimm?
Sure.
Do you think they would do that? Because I
No,
don't.
because they don't want to they don't want to promote that.
But that's the Fantastic Four.
Right.
Sue Storm,
I'm
Reed
fine with that.
Richards. Yeah, I'm fine with that. And the vast majority of people would be fine with that because that's the Fantastic Four. But I cannot see them doing it currently. But if they want to make money and they want to make a successful film, then that's exactly what they have to do. And I think certain channels, if they did do that, would have a collective prolapse if they did that. I honestly do think I just don't know what Nerdrotic would make of it if they come out and said, "Yeah, no, we're sticking to the source material. Victor Von Doom is an Eastern European lunatic, and this is our new Fantastic Four." I'm just trying to think. Margot Robbie and that, well, no, Sydney Sweeney and that bloke that was just in the film with Sydney Sweeney. I can't think of his name. Good looking guy, was in Top Gun as well. He's Mr. Fantastic, and we got this young hot thing that people would go nuts. People would go nuts.
I agree. Mario Lopez says to me, Marvel ended with Endgame.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mario. And I wish it had. Okay, I've said it 1,000 times on here, so I'm not going to say it again, but I wish it had.
Yeah, Old Yorkshire Geek says that he enjoyed the two Tim Story FF4 films.
Oh, the old Fantastic Four ones. Yeah, they were all right. I thought Jessica Alba was an odd choice for Sue Storm.
I was
I
gonna
just
ask, you that question. And what's his name? The Welsh actor who's smoking hot.
Ewan Griffith.
Yeah, he was in it.
Mhm.
And were they the right choices? You said Jessica, no, but what
I
about the
say
rest?
no. I just thought she was an odd choice.
Oh, okay.
Chickless was good though, as
Mhm.
as the thing, and of course it was it didn't he have that horrible suit, and it was all like pre CGI, wasn't it? Or it had some CGI, but it was very early CGI.
Yes, it was. That film I don't think did very well. Irene said, "I have a hard time swallowing the new Captain America's." Irene. Tony Stark being gone, Gamora being gone, everyone is basically gone. That really made me feel attached. Yeah, that's a good point. when that happens, they have to reestablish everything, and they didn't have to break off the way they did, break off the connections in the way they did. And then, of course, Black Panther, that also was an unavoidable tragedy that happened. Um, that kind of killed some of the magic. It did. Um, Marco is here. Hi, Marco.
Hey.
Um, I haven't been looking, but have you been going to games again recently, Marco? And I know you were talking about going to see a reggae group. Hope you were well. Um, Darth Vader says post Endgame doesn't have the state power without the cast that made the MCU in the first place.
Well, this is why I constantly say they just should have stopped and waited. Just right, take a breath. That phases are over. We need a new phase with new, and it's not like they've run out of heroes. It's not like you can't reference those characters. I don't know, but they didn't.
Stubble
All right, here we go.
says
Stubble. Let's see what Stubble says.
reboot the MCU, plan it out with clear promises and set up what to expect, make the movies stand alone with a meta narrative with clear progress from movie to movie, and have great payoffs along the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so do what they did before, essentially. And I think, like the TV shows, if they're going to continue to do them, or if they're in this hypothetical, if they continue to do the TV shows, I don't know if it's meta narrative, but for example, if you've got the Spider-Man film and another character coming, and they sort of mentioned the zombie attack in Florida or whatever. Oh yeah, God, I saw that. Oh, that was terrible, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Okay, great. And that's where we know this new Spider Ninja character from, because he fought the zombies in Florida. Fine, we know that, and that's been mentioned in the film, and that's great. But there's probably a Spider Ninja Warrior show where you see him fighting the zombies in Florida, and that's fine. But you don't have to have seen it to understand. A bit
Yeah,
like
make them not connected. I mean, make them independent. So if you have a television show, maybe it's the teen years, like it doesn't have to be 100% flow from one thing to the next thing when it comes to these TV series that are behind a paywall. I don't like
That's
that.
that's the point. It doesn't have to flow, but it could be referenced. So while Spider-Man's doing his thing in New York, Spider Ninja is off in Florida fighting zombies. We don't have to have seen him fighting zombies for it to be mentioned. But if you want to see him fighting zombies, then you can subscribe to Disney Plus and see him fighting zombies. This other new character that we're going to bring in, but into the new Spider-Man film. So he meets Peter Parker. Oh yeah, I was in Florida fighting ninja zombies. Great. We don't have to have seen it, but if you want to see it, then your Marvel experience will be enriched, but your cinematic experience does not depend on you having seen it, right?
And Marco says Echo wasn't bad because of the premise. I agree. I think that Echo looks fantastic, right? The premise, the trailers, the advertisement, the marketing for Echo looks great. Marco says it wasn't bad because of the premise. It was bad because of the unlikable character and the boring story. Interesting. I haven't heard anybody say this. Have you, Russ?
Like I said, the usual suspects are shit all over it, and that's pretty much what I've heard. But I saw the trailers of it, and I thought it don't look too bad. But someone here was saying that they were confirmed what the usual suspects were saying about it, that the Kingpin is just made out to be, because he was really terrifying in Daredevil, wasn't he? And he was really smart, and he almost always had the upper hand, and he was ruthless, and he was all these kind of things. A really formidable villain. And and I forget who said it, and I apologize. I'm so sorry. One of the viewers here was saying it just confirmed what the usual suspects were saying. So I don't know.
No, that's great, Russ. Thank you. Mr. Londell says Marvel is so seriously overdone that it cannot be fixed. Just close down the shop for 6 years and give us an X-Men movie, as Luminara mentioned as well. Irene says X-Men would be a breath of fresh air. Marco says over under 50% Marvel gender or race swap. I don't really, something for me, as far as I'm concerned, if the race swap was done and it was a good movie, I personally wouldn't have any problem with it. And then they could still make the movies. What I actually want to see them do, they can go ahead and race swap a character, but continue to use the original character. So we still see that character too.
All right, so if they're making a new X-Men movie and Professor X is now Chinese, it's just a Chinese dude, bald Chinese guy in the wheelchair, you'd be okay with that?
Yeah, I don't care as long as we still have the original Professor X
No, no,
somewhere.
no. This is the new X-Men. It's 2025. A new X-Men film's
Yeah.
come out. This is Professor X. He's now Professor Zhao.
See, because I thought when they said we were having multiverses, that that would be the norm because you're gonna see
No,
different versions
no,
of the
we are making our new X-Men film. I'm telling you, I'm casting Jet Li as Professor X. He's going to be bald and he's going to be disabled. He's going to be exactly the same guy, exactly the same powers, but he's Chinese. Are we okay with that?
it doesn't make a difference to me because I haven't read the comics and I know nothing about it. But what I'm saying is because I've seen the original Professor X, I don't want them to do away with the original Professor X.
But I am saying to you, in this new continuity,
Yeah.
this is the
So
new X-Men film. This is a brand new continuity that we're doing now. Connects to the MC. It's part of the MCU. This is a continuation of the MCU, and Professor X is now Professor Zhao, and he's from China. He's a Chinese mutant that has these amazing powers. Would you be okay with it? Because I
only
don't think
only if they keep the
no,
original
because
Professor X.
he is the original guy now
So
in
they're
this new
not keeping the original Professor X. That's what you're saying.
yes, this is now the Professor X. He is the cinematic Professor X in the same way that Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson is now cinematic universe Nick Fury. Well, our new Professor X is Chinese because I don't think people would sit still for it. I think X Men fans would be pissed off because there's no reason to make Professor X Professor Zhao other than the fact that you want to make him Professor Zhao.
And
Because
I
everyone knows who he is. He's Professor Xavier. He's a looks like Lex Luthor and sits in a wheelchair and he has mental powers. Everyone knows that.
right, and I still wanna see the original Professor X. So I need to see the original Professor X, and what I'm saying is that if they wanna go ahead and recreate the characters, go ahead and recreate the characters, but make them standalones. Go off and create something new and different if you want to, but, keep the original characters and we can still enjoy that as well. There's room for both. They don't have to coincide with one another. They don't have to be in the same story. Like,
Hmm.
it's not necessary to do that. You wanna go ahead and experiment, go ahead and experiment, but it doesn't have to break up something that you have that already works.
Well,
Just like
that's right, but I
Irene
don't think
said
people would sit still
yeah,
for it. I
just
just
like
don't think they
Irene
would. People sat still for Samuel L. Jackson because he was awesome, and nobody knew who Nick Fury was anyway.
yeah,
But
and just like
given the history of what they've done, if they come out with a new cinematic chapter and they do all of that, people will just lose their shit.
if they break up the old one.
But they will do because what I'm saying is,
Okay.
in the new X-Men movie, there is no Patrick Stewart, there is no Hugh Jackman. They are not part of the MCU. They are part of the Sonyverse. They don't exist. We are starting in 2025. You and I producing the new X-Men film, and Professor Zhao is now Professor X. People will go, "Why did you do that, Russ and Rita? Why? What was the point of that? Why did you do that?" We know who Professor X is. They wouldn't wear it, or I don't think they would anyway.
Well, I think what's interesting about, the let's say, the new Captain Marvel's film is that would have been a great standalone film. It didn't have to be connected to everything else.
What
If they
the
wanted
Marvels?
yeah, the Marvels, I'm sorry, the
Mhm.
Marvels, or whatever the film is called. That's a great chick flick. It doesn't need to be connected to anything else. If you wanna have Brie Larson and Tiana in it and, the other, Miss Marvel in it, go ahead and let them have a separate film, but they don't have to be involved in all this other stuff. They were good alone. They didn't need to bandwagon and jump onto the existing storyline. It wasn't needed, and I don't think it really did anything for the story. The story is not advanced any bit, the universe doesn't feel improved. But having them as a separate story where they're standalone, I think it's great. I think that would have been a great standalone movie. We all could have enjoyed it, and no one would have had to even be concerned as to whether they're messing with a timeline or killing any we don't need that from them.
I
It
suppose
would
you, as you're talking, it's occurring to me. Maybe the MC. The original question is, can the MCU be? Maybe it can't. Maybe it's just got so much baggage and so much that has happened over the past 15, 20 years. 15 years, isn't it? Something like that. I can't remember. It's got so much weighing it down now. The one thought I had was, what would I do? And if it was me, I'd do a Thor movie where Thor has to go on a quest,
Mhm.
and you sort of realize that Thor now has PTSD, and the whole event of Thor: Love and Thunder is just he's starting. Is how he copes with it. He's haunted by the death of Natalie Portman. He's haunted by the death of Loki and all these things that have happened, and the choices that he's made, the decisions that he made. Why didn't you go for the head? All these things. And we find Thor not as a sort of fat alcoholic joke side character, but a broken Thor that has to go on a quest
Oh.
to find the light, find a purpose in being Thor again, because actually everything he's touched is broken. And so you can sort of hand wave away the ludicrousness of Thor Love and Thunder and say, yeah, this is how he remembers it now, because this is a product of a broken mind. But a film with someone who's his girlfriend passes away of a terrible disease and all that sort of thing, maybe his mind is shattered and he has to go on a quest to find himself. I mean, slightly more introspective, a bit more like the Incredible Hulk or something like that. Bill Bixby music, where Thor is broken and sad, but not broken and sad in a funny way, but actually someone who's gone through massive trauma and has to find a way out of it.
Yeah, and Russ, all of your ideas are perfect. And I think it's interesting because I hadn't thought about the notion of the chick flick idea for spurning or being a shoot off of superhero stories. And now I really am into it, but I don't want them to mess around with the original IP. I want them to go ahead and make another the Marvels, make it separate. Let me go ahead and enjoy my wine and cheese while
Hmm.
I watch Brie Larson encounter some prince that she's married to in some other galaxy. I loved that. Do I think it makes any sense in the universe it's in? It makes no sense whatsoever.
So hold on a second. Is this like a film that is shit, but you love anyway?
Yes. Yes, and I don't care. I forgot it was a superhero film. Irene says that Jessica Alba was all the rage back then. She was, right, Irene?
Hmm.
And Mr. Londale says, "Yeah, look at the guy. Some of these other guys on YouTube would love the way you describe it. I would love it. We'd all love it. What's interesting is none of these things have to work 100% together. When they make television shows, Russ, of superheroes, it doesn't always 100% tie back to all the movies. So why do they feel that every movie has to 100% tie back when they know very well that the Marvels did not do a good job of tying back to anything whatsoever?
I
It
don't.
was it was
I
almost like
don't
you
know.
had to work 1 week, and this happened, and then you went home. That's what the Marvels felt like, Russ, because it was just this thing that happened and, oh, okay, great, but it doesn't feel like it affected anyone else or any of the surrounding stories. And I'm fine with that. Keep it that way. Go ahead and explore with these side things you want to do. Go ahead and make these other characters, but leave those other characters that work that people are connecting with. Irene says without those, you feel that you're connected, you're not connected to it anymore. We need those characters. It's clearly telling, that we feel connected to those characters in a different way. And let me have my wine and cheese party with Brie Larson.
Why not?
Here. She didn't affect anything as far as I'm concerned. She showed up. They had like I said, it's that log line, Russ, that I love. They ought to do this with everything, and let us know it's going to be a wine and cheese party. I'm fine with a wine and cheese party where we get to meet a smoking hot prince. Totally fine with that. There, go ahead and experiment if you want to, and it's okay to do those things. Well, I still want Patrick Stewart back. I want him back.
Hmm. Well, you're not going to get him, are you? But that's kind of the point. This is my bullshit allegory about Professor Xiao. Like, you're not going to get that in this current mindset. So to Mr. Lundell's point here, yeah, they probably would. Well, they probably wouldn't actually, because their channels would start losing viewers because they wouldn't have anything to complain about. But you know, if Marvel and Disney if they produced the Fantastic Four exactly as I said, let's say with Margot Robbie as Sue Storm and I don't know, or Sydney Sweeney or whoever, and they just got the original comic characters as accurate as you could get them, and they did a origin story about them and Doctor Doom and all that, and it just ticked every single box that a comic fan wants. Tells a brilliant story about family and coming together and what they have to do. People would love it, but I can't see them doing it.
Yeah, but and you're right, Russ, and I agree with you 100% with this. And you can hear what I'm saying. I think it would be a big hit with with the female crowd even, because I don't feel like it would be breaking anything by exploring, and I think that's what they should have done. I think they should have done the focus where it's more of a comedy, and there's already female superheroes anyway that we can take seriously, but in this particular case we can kind of have a little bit of fun with some of this and not let it be too much more, because it's that what they were doing, I don't even think that was in any comic book. That's just something that they made up. Good, experiment, be an experimenter, but know when to experiment and when to stick to the story that works.
Mm.
um Dark Plato talks about the Rebel Moon Star is 41. Of course, looks so good, especially Russ, as you said, when she had that short haircut
Well,
and she
Sophia
didn't.
Botella is 41.
Is she?
Fucking hell.
I
No.
didn't know. Um,
Wow.
what I was gonna say is that I love her just in the look, as you said, Russ, with the tank top. But when she puts that uniform on and she has that buzz cut, I'm like, damn, she looks hot in this. She's amazing.
I
Um,
loved it. I
yeah,
loved it.
she's a great star. And then the chemistry she had, as I said before, between her leading man and her, it's like,
Gunner, yeah.
oh man, you could just feel the sexual chemistry. I don't know what he's gonna do to her when well,
Zack
actually,
Snyder in casting really hot people shock.
and thank you, Irene Jobson, for the super chat of $5. Says, love you guys.
Oh, we love you
By the
too.
way, XOXO, we love you too, Irene. And thank you for bringing up such an important point
Rita,
about
I've got to take this, my dad.
sure. Thanks so much for bringing up the important notion of feeling connected to these characters. I think that if we can rebuild the connection, is it possible to rebuild the connection between us and these characters? This is a question I think that a lot of people are wondering. And some of you have said, it's over. Some of you had said it's possible. I think that it is possible to rebuild the connection. But I also think that they opened up a door for something else with the Marvels. And as I said, that could just be a chick flick thing. And then they can satisfy the gender swaps because they can go ahead and do whatever they want over there, but it doesn't have to affect anything. Let's just be honest. A lot of these gender swaps haven't really done anything anyway. What major difference has these gender swaps accomplished? I don't believe they've accomplished very much at all. Um, let's see. Let's see what we have here. Um, oh, Wex Wuther is here. Hey, Wex Wuther. Hope you are well. Russ stepped out just for a minute because he had to take a call. But Wex Wuther says, Russ, everybody loves Sam Jackson as Nick Fury. I think we just love Sam Jackson and whatever he does. But you know something? I didn't love him in what was it called? Something Secret Wars or whatever it was. That was not a favorite of mine. So you can even put a good actor in something where, as far as I'm concerned, that storyline and series was not worth it. Let's see. Mario says, as long as they don't change the gender or race of Lord of the Rings, as far as I'm concerned, they can change all the other IPs. Lord of the Rings is sacred. A lot of you have said that about Lord of the Rings, and I hear you. And there's other fantasy stories similar to, not exactly the same, but similar to Lord of the Rings that has enough different types of creatures and things. It's not necessary to change anything there. Um, and I don't know why they would, but yeah, it's something to think about, guys. Um, let's see what we got here. Stavros says that Green Lantern did this with overflooding our quadrant with 4 ring bearers. Okay. Yes. And couldn't you say the same thing about Spider-Man? Um, there's a lot of Spider-Man all of a sudden. Everybody is Spider-Man these days. So um, I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, I'll talk to you after.
Okay. And Stavros talks about how Green Lantern overflooded the quadrant with 4 ring bearers. I said that they did the same thing with Spider-Man, that they overflooded it with a limitless amount of Spider-Man in the series. And, as I said, I don't know whether that affects the whole universe or what it is,
Who
but
is the fourth one? There's Rayner, Gardner, Jordan, and who else? Stavros, I can't remember. Sorry, Aram.
no, it's okay. Um, and it's something to think about. Irene talks about hero types of quests, these heroic quests. Why not have him do something written in from another, let's say, legend, and he can go on the quest. I like what you said, Russ. I love that broken, dealing with grief issues, as Old Yorkshire Geek says. It's wonderful to do that. Jamin D is here. Hey, Jamin D.
Hey man.
So good to see you. Yeah. Let's see. Irene talks about Florence Pugh, Elizabeth Olsen, Jenny Ortega, and Anna Taylor Joy. They get cast a lot when they're hot commodities, even if they aren't the best choices sometimes. But Irene, wouldn't you like to see maybe not all of them, but some of them in something like the Marvels, where it's not really connected? Nothing that the Marvels does really affects anybody else, from what I'm seeing. Go ahead and let them have their own place where they can shine.
I
But
think Irene's referring back to when I said I thought Jessica Alba was an odd choice, and Irene then
yes,
followed
she
it up
is.
to
She is.
say
Mhm.
she followed up to, well, she was all the rage, and now she's
Yes.
saying these girls are all the rage, and they don't. I I think that's right. Anyway,
Absolutely, Irene, and I hear you that you are correct. They might be cast in something that they wouldn't normally be cast in. And as I like to say, when you cast somebody in a role where they probably might not be the best choice, it's okay. They can pop their superhero cherry. I don't care. Let them go ahead and be in those roles. You may never see them again. Um, but I still would like to see them in the Marvels. That would have been interesting to see the
mm.
ladies there. Would it take on a whole different feel um, with other stars who are hot right now? Why not go ahead and take them and make something fun?
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. I keep thinking about this question of yours, and I don't think it can be saved.
mhm.
I don't think the DCU can be saved. I think the boys is gonna has had its day and will be coming to an end soon, because I think something like the boys can only exist in a world where they can satirize what's going on with the superheroes, if you see what I mean. But I just don't think anybody cares, man. Like, I love, what's his name, Aaron Fisher, I think his name. He covers a lot of DC, that Zack Snyder stuff, and and I can keep seeing him with his, Gunn has said this and Gunn has said that, and casting leaks about Superman Legacy, and I should be all over it. Especially me, I love Superman. I just like, I'm not interested in what James Gunn's doing and who's fucking cast as this person and that person. And I've seen all the memes start. The memes have started already. Like everyone said, Superman and Batman, but Batman v Superman was overstuffed, and then it's got the whole list of people that are apparently in Superman Legacy. But I don't care, and I think, when you're doing your straw poll of one, who does care? Who's excited about um, the next Marvel movie, whatever it's going to be? Who's excited about Echo coming on TV? Who's excited about the Ray movie? Who's excited about the Mando movie? Who's excited about the the Force Begins movie? Like, nobody really is.
Yeah, and um, it's interesting how a performing artist talks about one of his favorite Thor scenes was when he talks about where he lost everything. And you talked about excitement for the Mando movie. And I was talking the other day to Robert about this. And I said, the one thing that I had said about season three is that it should have been a film. They didn't need to make a season three for The Mandalorian and cut out all that nonsense, the unbelievable Mandalorians that just don't seem real. Grogu hopping and jumping into Mando's arms in the middle of a dangerous battle. Like, this is bullshit. Nobody's buying any of this stuff. It was just thrown in there, and when you throw things together, you're going to have an underperforming season, but it could have made a great film, and we didn't need to necessarily revisit everything. You were never going to top Luke showing up. The reason why that season was so great with Luke is because it's Luke Skywalker,
Mm.
not because it's Grogu. It's
Yes.
Luke is the reason why it was a success. And Luke, a man who's incredibly stoic and damn graceful for a Jedi, walks in, like a boss. And it's the
Yes.
baddest thing you've seen because he is the baddest thing you've seen. And I mean in a good way, bad in a good way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
He's the
That
baddest thing you've seen because he is the baddest thing you've seen. He elevated the series, but The Mandalorian was not the best series ever made. But you could make a fun film. You could make a fun film. You weren't going to be blown away. You weren't going to be contemplating things, but you could go ahead now and take a Mandalorian film and bring it into another level. Grogu cannot be cute and cuddly forever. And I think that his expiration date might be near the end. We don't want to see any more. I don't want to see any more of him moving objects around or taming animals. I don't want to see any more of that. I want to see Grogu grow. I want to see him have these experiences that only a Yoda species can have, and make a movie about that. Jump it ahead 30 years, do all sorts of stuff. I talked about this ad nauseum on Friday night, but we need something fresh and new, and it can't be them going out bounty hunting. We cannot see another
Okay,
episode
well, this is kind
of
of getting to the meat of. I guess I'm trying extrapolating my own point as I'm trying to come to it. You know, with the Professor Zhao, all right, with the Fantastic Four, with the Mandalorian, you don't trust them, do you? They're making a Fantastic Four movie. We all know what the Fantastic Four are. We all know what the Fantastic Four look like, and we all know what the Fantastic Four should be doing. But nobody, I don't believe, watching this stream podcast trusts the rights holders to do the right thing, to do that. They don't. And I don't trust Disney to do something bold and risky and creative like they did with the original Mandalorian TV show, which is kind of a risk. Okay, it was risk averse in that they surrounded him with everything familiar and cuddly, but it was still a risk to do it. I don't trust them. I just think he's going to get more of cute Yoda, and that's what you're going to get. And again, nobody wants that. People, like you just said, you don't want him to be cute forever now. You want him to evolve. Hey, if we're wrong, it could be awesome. Things could be, and they're quite easy to fix these things if you're brave. But how can you
yeah.
be brave when you're gambling with 350 or 250 million dollars? It's a difficult one.
And the Mando film doesn't have to be expensive. This could be a film that focuses on Grogu. They, like they could have two films. They could have one that focuses on the Mandalorians and one that focuses on Grogu, because I don't think that you can pair them together as if they're the same entity. People want Grogu to be a Jedi and a Mandalorian, and they want, like they want a combination, but I don't. It's not that I don't see Grogu being a Mandalorian. I think he can live by those laws, but let's be honest, I don't know whether he can really do some of what the other Mandalorians do, because he's a Yoda species. And we can let's just it's okay that he's a Yoda species and maybe he can't perform in the same way the other Mandalorians can. It's okay. So the expectation of, he's suddenly this clan member and now he's a Mandalorian, that might not ever be fulfilled. That's totally fine. He's got 900 years to do whatever he wants. But we're not going to see, I don't think we're going to see, like, as I said before, Yoda backpacking, like, it's not going to be that kind of a movie where, it can't be sort of like he's on a gap year. It can't be that. It has to be something that's much higher, because he's going to be this Yoda style character who could shape the universe. So we can't, kind of dumb it down, if you will, just because we want to see cute, fun things. Like, that era is over. It needs to be a more mature film. And
Do you
maybe,
trust them to deliver you a more mature film?
no, I don't. But what I mean is, that's things can change tomorrow. I have to remember, this is positive fandom, Russ. This is positive.
Yes, yes,
Let's
absolutely, and
stay
they
positive.
could be changed. This is the thing. I wish they would take the risks,
So let's
because
talk
that's
about,
the only thing. It's the only way you're going to win is if you take risks. If you keep doing this, you're losing. You're losing fans. You're losing subscribers. You're losing money. You're losing trust. You're
yes.
losing brand value. You're losing everything. You've got to stop, and you've got to take some risks with these properties.
So let's talk about let's talk about tits.
Awesome. My favorite two subjects.
Boobies, tits, and I kind of brought it up for the two posts that Stubble McShave and That Old Yorkshire Geek are saying. Stubble talks about nudity, male nudity in the end of Saltburn. So now I have to turn it on and watch it, because I wasn't going to watch it until you mentioned that there was male nudity in the film. So now I'm going to watch. I kind of wish the woman in the film, she's also in the Wheel of Time. Does she get nude too? That would be great. But whatever happens in this film, you talk about it, male nudity depicted this way. I just watched Ferrari, and there was male nudity in that too, and it was only for a second where in the story where you had to see the male nudity because the man who was killed was a sex symbol, and they wanted to say that, but they didn't want to verbally say, he's one of the hottest sex symbols of the era. So the actor gets completely nude. He is full on nude. It's a lovely scene, just such a wonderful scene, seeing this guy, and he has a beautiful body, this actor, I don't even know his name, but they made a point of showing that in the film. There was very little female, female nudity. I don't know whether Penelope Cruz gets nuded, and I can't remember, but what's my point? I have to see how it's depicted. I don't know, Stubble. Um, I've seen different types of nudity depictions over the last year, and they've all been so different. I'm going to check it out, Stubble. And Old Yorkshire Geek mentions that it feels like female nudity isn't allowed these days, but we see men's willies all over the place. I think we need both, don't you? I think we need both. Why not have both and let it be nudity that's tasteful, that is realistic, and it can just be casual. I think casual nudity I think casual nudity is also great. I like seeing people walk around with no clothes on, and they don't have to be having sex. Just and make it realistic as well. Let's go ahead and have that in a story. I love seeing breasts. So, I thought we were going to see that in Napoleon. I thought for sure we were going to see a lot of nudity, and it would have been fine if Vanessa Kirby did not want to be nude. We still could have had some wonderful nudity with a body double would have been fine by me. But Russ, we're talking about female nudity. Stubble's Old Yorkshire, he tells Stubble that he doesn't think it's allowed these days. Stubble, is there female nudity in Saltburn? Let me know. And Rosalind Pike is the actress. If she wants to be nude in that, I'm fine with that. But I have no idea how would people have reacted if it had been female nudity depicted in that way. That's what Stubble was saying. I don't know what it looks like. Now I'm almost tempted to put it on as I'm sitting here doing the show. And fast forwarding to the end of Saltburn. But to be honest with you, I think they should come back, Old Yorkshire Geek. And you take care. Have a great Sunday. Are you going to continue to play Assassin's Creed? Because I thought that's what you were playing. Good to see you as always. So something to think about, Russ. Do you have to go, or are you good?
I'm good for a little bit. I'm sorry about that. It's just my stepfather's in hospital again. Okay, Josh Trank made a bad Fantastic Four movie. I definitely felt there was a good David Cronenberg there. The scene with Doctor Doom going through hell at the end of the movie was terrifying. Yeah, I didn't see that one. Fan Four Stick, apparently. That's what it was called, wasn't it? And he was like a big deal, wasn't he, Josh Trank? And then I think it all went to his head. I seem to remember. Didn't Midnight's Edge do a big documentary on Josh Trank? Yeah, I'm sure they did, like his beginnings and how he had his issues with substances and drink and all the rest of it, and then kind of lost the plot. And I think Fan Four Stick was the end result of that. Could be misremembering. Maybe a performing artist knows more about it than me. So I didn't see it. But people are saying it's awful. So what's up
Well,
there,
I
RM?
no, I just was gonna fast forward to the nudity part that Stubble.
Oh, okay. You've got it now. Okay. Well, okay. I'll leave it with me. I'm
No,
gonna go
no,
back
no,
and.
it's totally fine. I'm just gonna fast forward. I'm gonna fast forward to the nude part that
Well,
Stubble
like
was
you're a
talking about.
teenage boy just fast forwarding to the tits. It's
Oh,
great.
hell yeah. Yeah, I do that all the time. Oh, it's in Oxford. I It's in Oxford, Russ. That's interesting.
Mm,
Um, did you see Saltburn, Russ?
no, no.
Okay. All right. So let's see what happens. I'm fast forwarding. I'm fast forwarding. Um, I don't want to hold up anything here. Um, I just have it up there. It's playing, and I know I'm gonna see. Okay, he's naked. Okay.
Who's naked?
One of the actors. What am I looking at? What is he doing? Oh, that's kind of odd. It looks like he's having sex on a grave?
Nice.
Am I watching the right would you
Well, a
confirm
performing
this?
artist says, I saw Saltburn as a heterosexual guy. It was interesting to say the least, but I wouldn't watch it again. Plenty of male nudity, but there was no female nudity, I believe.
That's too bad, but why is he on a grave? Um, that's odd.
And there's probably some meta about the state of religion. I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah, it's okay. It's not I would have rather seen him have sex with Rosalind Pike. Um, so, that's what I would have preferred, and I think it's, what is this? RM is watching TV in a hospital room?
Because you're looking up. Everyone's saying, why are you
No,
looking
my
up that?
TV's up there. My
Mm.
TV's up there. So, okay. Now let's see what we have here. Bruce Lamb says that I went backwards. Florence Pugh and Cillian were both nude in Oppenheimer. Yeah, I thought that was tasteful nudity.
Isn't there
That
one
was
that, yeah. And there's one with, what's her name? She's so beautiful. Alison Brie. And there's a
yes.
film coming out with her, or film out with her, where she's literally running around full frontal nudity. I think she goes to some sort of spiritual release place or something like that. So there's, yeah, we could do with more boobs in cinema. Absolutely. I think I was listening to the Drinker, and they were opining about the success of Barbie and how Barbie, yeah, knew its market, and we spoke about this last week. But then he just went on to say, and what are men like? You know, explosion, violence, and tits. Give them that, and they will be happy with, the movie can be as generic as you like, but if you deliver those things in greater or lesser quantities, by and large, most blokes will sit down and go, yeah, that was pretty good, or that was all right. I wonder if the Beekeeper has tits, because I know it's going to have explosions and
Oh,
violence, so
it's
we'll see.
totally gonna have something, and I thought this film was gonna be about Rosalind Pike having sex with all these young guys, so this is this is where my mind goes. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Rosalind Pike, older woman, younger guys. Oh my god, it's gonna be like this huge orgy." Was that did what should I have thought that, Russ? Should I
I,
have thought
I I don't know. I mean, Bonzo says that the woman who made Saltman is an angry feminist. I
no,
don't
but I
know.
mean, like, if you see the Saltburn advertisement, Rosalind Pike is there, and then you see all these cute guys in it, and she's kind of eyeballing them, and I'm like, why does she have them all together like that? You know, is she going to show them something? Like, why does she have all these young men around her? I don't think she's just enjoying their friendship.
Well, apparently she is.
That's
I
the
mean, apparently she isn't, I should say. Apparently it's a feminist movie, so no, it's not going to have that sort of content.
Darth Plato says he thought the nude scene in Oppenheimer was really awkward. Well, which one, Darth Plato? Because there was quite a few. I didn't find any of them awkward. I think they were perfectly placed. What do you think, Russ?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't necessary, I would
The
guess.
nudity?
Yeah, the nudity, not in a film like that. I mean, I think sometimes it has its place and sometimes it doesn't. But then, if Christopher Nolan was sat here, he'd make me look like a fool, wouldn't he? And explain to me exactly
No.
why it was necessary. So I have no comment on that one.
Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. It varies, right? I mean,
Mm.
I love nudity and it does not matter to me the film. And I actually there was a film and I did mention it before. Um and before I get to it, was why is he on a grave? Answer, it's weird. What I was talking about was the last 2 minutes. Okay, Stubble, I'll go to the last 2 minutes. Um, I thought Stubble, even you have to admit that seeing a guy jerk off on top of a grave is weird. That's weird. Like that's not normal. And I can guarantee you that's like it would be in a horror film, some guy who works at a morgue and he gets off, screwing what is it called? Is it called necrophilia?
Necrophilia.
Some guy like that. So let's see. Am I in the last 2 minutes of the film? Oh my gosh, Stubble, you've really got me. You knew I would have to watch this, didn't you? Okay, he's nude. I see him walking around. He's walking around just nude everywhere, just moving his body around. Is this like some kind of um performance art? Because I've seen a lot of men in a lot of plays on, like these Greco plays
Hmm.
on off Broadway do this. Like this is, and they're singing and dancing and chanting and, playing songs. And they're also nude women, however, also nude. And I remember, I was like, they've been nude for an hour. And I'm like, we don't have to take our clothes off, do we? They're not waiting for us to disrobe, and they weren't. So I don't know. I'm like, I'm okay. So far, he's just dancing around, getting high. Um, yeah, Darth Plato says Porky's has a scene like that. Um, you
I
know,
haven't I haven't
the-
seen that for years, Porky's. I think I only seen it once in the 80s, actually, if I'm honest.
yeah, there was a Russ. There was a movie that I saw, and the movie actually was a somber film. It was about a family that loses their parents in a tragic accident at home. And this, because of the nature of what the film was about, they couldn't go ahead and like have, a scene like this where this guy's dancing around naked and all this sort of stuff. What they did instead was, it was the summertime and it's set in Italy, and the family, and I've actually told you about this scene before. The family goes to the beach a lot and they're enjoying the summer. They've got a cabana and everything. And what ends up happening is uh instead of people kind of like screwing around, just miscellaneously, every time they go to the beach or they're on a boat, this aunt in the family takes this opportunity to take off all her clothes and sunbathe.
Hmm.
And like all the family members, not all of them, but a lot of the family members are angry with her for doing that. But there are some family members who are fine with her doing this, like taking off her clothes. And they kind of, what they were really just kind of doing was adding kind of a sexual element into it. But they couldn't have people kind of like getting off and doing stuff in the film, because in the story the parents die, like it's a
Mm.
tragedy. But I just thought that that was a very interesting way to do it, because we do actually see this, like that people do that, where they'll take their top off or they'll be in a thong and they don't have very many clothes on, but they want to sunbathe. And there might be somebody who's upset about it, but they wanted to add a sexual element to it, kind of, a different element to it. And I thought that that was interesting. But in regards to the dancing, so Stubble, he's just dancing, he's getting high, he doesn't hurt his body or anything. I think it's totally fine. I've actually watched a lot of men that I know who've done that, so it doesn't feel odd to me. Now, every man is different, Stubble, but as far as I could see, he was just dancing around in wherever it is. Nothing bad happens to him, right? Um, it's okay. I've even known some men who don't like to wear clothes at home. So certainly you have all different types of people out there. Um, what did you think about it, Stubble? What did you think about the dancing at the end? It just looks like he's dancing. I read it wrong? But you knew I had to go ahead and look at it because you mentioned it. All right. Um, yeah. Let's see. Bruce Lamb says Oppenheimer, both Cillian and Florence knew without sex, needed a quiet moment to discuss something serious. Yeah, I think they did. I think they did a few scenes like that. It was not every nude scene has to be overly sexualized, but it was an adult film. This was not meant for children, and I think sometimes we can see stuff like that. Russ,
Hmm.
wouldn't you like to see one of these days an MCU film with nudity in it?
Um, yeah, I heard a rumor. I can't remember where I heard this, but Chad Stahelski said, I'd like to do the Blade movie. Marvel want me to do a movie, do Blade. Now I can imagine a Chad Stahelski Blade movie with some boobs in it. Not that he's known for boobs, he's known for John Wick and kicking ass, but I thought that would be awesome. So yes, um, I think especially with the superheroines, I mean, they're they're just hypersexualized in the comics, and let's just not pretend. Look at Power Girl, and I've watched for years as people have tried to sort of justify Power Girl being an empowered girl boss, and it's just ridiculous. Like, she's not. Like, don't pretend she's just really sexy, and we like that. She's the Pamela Anderson of the comic book world. Yay, great. She's sex and boobs and blonde hair, and we love her for it. So yeah, maybe there's I'm sure that there's lots of fan fiction that has that. There's that sort of thing going on, so I'm sure people would love it. But yeah, Blade lends itself to an adult storyline, and certainly did in the 90s. I think it was R-rated, wasn't it? Blade,
It
Wesley Snipes.
was. I'm sorry, you are correct. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Darth Plato says, wasn't there nudity in Thor Love and Thunder? Yes, there was a little shot of someone's bare ass, but it wasn't full frontal, and I would have liked to have seen full frontal. Since you brought it up, yes, I would not mind seeing full frontal nudity of Thor. And I don't care if it's sexual full frontal, I don't care what it is. He could be getting dressed or whatever it is. I don't know whether I liked the nudity we saw here because it looked like he was in bondage and very kind of S&M style nudity. So I don't know about whether that's appealing to most people, but like if he's getting dressed or something, or he goes swimming, like it'd be great to see a swimming scene or something like that. But the unrealism, it's just not unrealistic. Sorry, it's not realistic to see Thor in chains and then stripped naked. Like that's a different kind of story, isn't it, Russ? That's not how you would typically see Thor nude.
Well, I think so, but if they go down the road of my dark psychological drama about Thor, perhaps that's just a mental metaphor for how he's felt sort of chained by the responsibility and the guilt of what he's done, and how everybody's just laughing at him.
Well, and who would want to see him in that position, nude and chained? It's not arousing. You
No,
see
it's not. No,
that?
it's not. It's just look at
So
that film. I'm taking the piss, of course, about my dark psychological drama. It was just crap. It was just a bad film. It was a bad film from the wrong director that didn't. People talk about studio interference a lot. Well, that is one film that needed a bit of studio interference. I feel, because he was given hundreds of millions of dollars to and a sandbox to play in, and the mood music coming out of it at the time, people were going, "Oh yeah, we're having such fun," and like we don't even know what we're doing from one end of the day to the next, and all that stuff. You could see where it was going to end.
yeah, and Stubble, to answer your question, I did just kind of watch the end again. In fact, it's up there. Um, Yeah, and this feels like I'm watching any guy that I've ever known just walk around. I don't. He's not sort of like, it's not an over sexualized nude scene. He's just dancing around with no clothes on. Yes, thank you. Mr. Londo's Groovy Movie says, butt naked play for the ladies. Thank you. Aren't you kind, Mr. Londo's Groovy Movies? You're so kind. And yes, I wanted to read what Performing Artist says. I'm thinking of Women Sleeping with All the Guys with Emma Stone and Poor Things, and Zendaya with the two guys in the upcoming Moving Challengers. Thank you, Performing Artist, for that. Yeah, I got excited. I was like, Rosalind Pike's gonna like go nuts with this, literally. And I think it would be interesting to kind of play out the scenario of her with these young guys. Because who doesn't like to see films like that? I don't think there's anybody who doesn't want to see that. Um, okay, so Stubble says, I think it seemed a bit gratuitous at the end, and it would have been an uproar if it had been a woman. Would it? Um, I guess because it's not a if it were a film that was, let's say, more of an erotic film and the woman was dancing around nude, would anyone have said anything? I don't know. We kind of do see women do that sometimes, don't we, Stubble? I don't know. I think so you think that we are our opinion or views of nudity of men, it's disposable and we don't care if we see them, and people would have been angry if it was a woman. I don't know. I wouldn't have been angry.
No, you wouldn't, but I think Stubble raises just the sort of pervasive hypocrisy and bullshit that surrounds this sort of thing. He's absolutely right. If it had been a woman, you know, doing that, it would have been viewed as gratuitous and exploitative. And why do we need to see it? And da, 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 da. People just like getting bent out of shape, don't they? And that's the sort of thing they love getting bent out of shape about. Whereas, frankly, I could look at Alison Brie running naked, frolicking in a spiritual place quite happily for many, many, many hours. And
I
I make no apologies for that either.
I'm particularly fond of group gets together, men and women, whoever it is. They're near the ocean or near a lake. They suddenly want to go skinny dipping. Like that's one of my favorite nude scene scenarios in a movie. I think it's fun. I think that it gives chances for people to go off on their own. It
Mhm.
gives chances for people to pair up, or it gives them a chance for them all to do it together. Or if you don't want to, you can just watch everybody. Like it's
And soon to but they people that do that invariably die. That's what that's always the setup for like, yeah, you've just described the beginning of, Piranha or fucking Friday the 14th or something like that. Literally, it's a bunch of kids. They all get naked. Some of them are frolicking. Some of them are having sex. One of them's watching, and he's the nerd, and he's jerking off watching and he's the first one to go. Right? Am I right?
yes.
Maybe the serial killer's naked as well. He's the nude serial.
But I just
We call
loved
it
it.
Naked Blade.
You know something? It was also in A Room with a View, with Helena Bonham Carter and Julian Sands, where I think the pastor and Julian Sands and one other guy went skinny dipping, and she's walking with, it might be the lady from, it's not Helen Mirren, but it's the lady from Hogwarts. She's walking with her, and they come across them nude running in the forest, and it's just like so much fun to kind of see these little things that happen. And later on in the film, the character talks about she used to bathe in that pool as well, like
Mhm.
where the water was. So although you don't see her nude, it gives you the visual notion of, her also doing the same thing. So I think that sometimes you can have nudity in a film, and it can be interesting, even just talking about the possibility of that, going bathing and not having a swimsuit, although she probably wore one, but it's still a lot of fun because you're taking your clothes off, right? Um, yeah, maybe you're right, Stubble. I promise you, Stubble, as I had said, as Cameron said, he's adding in more love scenes to his shows because I've told him that it's needed. And I'm going to start to push more sex scenes and maybe nude scenes, but maybe not so gratuitous and equal. Let's see some male and female nudity. Why not see Rosalind Pike and putting on makeup, or maybe it doesn't have to be her, the female character putting on makeup and not have clothes on, just like what she might if she were getting dressed in the morning. So it doesn't always have to be over the top, and gratuitous, but occasionally it's nice to see a little bit. Sometimes it's nice to see these little glimpses of things
Well, what
because
about Jamie Lee Curtis in Trading Places?
oh yeah, that's perfect one where she takes off her wig, and then
Mhm.
you can see her and she's topless. It's
Mm,
wonderful. Or
yeah,
Halle Berry in I can't remember was it Goldfish?
Swordfish.
Swordfish. Those are great.
Mm.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like it doesn't have to be where she's in the middle of an act or whatever. It's just casual, looking beautiful. One of my favorites too is Scarlett Johansson. I can't remember the movie. She's just walking. She's literally just walking.
Oh, it's the Under the Skin.
Yeah, she's not doing anything, but it's still a beautiful nude scene. And the new one of the nude scenes, as I said, that I saw recently that I thought was fantastic was in Ferrari. This man who literally, Tyrone Power left. He's dating this girl, this actress. Tyrone Power left Rita Hayworth for her, and she left Tyrone Power for this race car driver. He was a
Mhm.
famous Spanish guy. Everybody knows who he is. I didn't know who he was, but everybody on the planet apparently knows who he is. He's the guy from the Kiss of Death photograph that I just learned about. But the point is, this man was an international sex symbol.
Mhm.
So they had to say that in the film, but they couldn't just go, "Oh yeah, he's an international sex symbol." You don't know him? It would be too obvious. So they did this scene where he jumps into bed. He's literally fully naked, and you
Mhm.
can see everything. And it's like this guy's kind of good looking, lucky girl. But I think there can be moments like that in films, and I think Penelope Cruz, you do see her topless in it. I think I could be wrong.
Oh,
I don't remember, but
that's worth worth anybody's time then, isn't it?
yeah, it's a great film,
Yeah, I've
Ferrari.
got a bit of a crush on Penelope Cruz actually.
Wow,
Mm.
wow, Russ.
It's not really my type, but I think she's
I hope I'm not misleading you. I believe she may be topless in that film for part of the film. I believe. I could be
mhm.
wrong. So yeah, now you're gonna be like going to the film and like, Rita said she was nude, so I gotta look and see. If anybody's seen Ferrari, can you please let me know if I am wrong? on that one, but there is a sex scene between her and Adam Driver, and it's great.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, thank you, Stubble. You got my heart racing. Guys, we have to end the show. It is we're already in the 2-hour range here. And Bonza says, I feel like there'll be plenty of nudity in feasting halls of Agar. Now, Russ, in some of the Viking shows you've watched, they have nudity, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and certainly in Vikings, um, everyone was, all the actors were running around with their clothes off, apart from Catherine Winnick, who didn't do any nudity in it at all, much to the heartbreak of every straight man watching it. I tell you where else there'd be lots of nudity, Bonzo. That would be on the magical island of Themyscira. Can have some of that if they make a show. They say they're making an Amazonian TV show, so you can but hope it will be the R-rated Amazons of Themyscira.
And a performing artist says, I just saw full frontal male nudity in a movie called Memory. Jessica Chastain and Peter Sarsgaard. It was pretty good, dramatic movie. That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. I will be putting that on my list of performing artists. Thank you for that. Um, and everybody's asking for a naked Blade movie. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
I just think,
Um,
yeah, they really see. Remember we were talking before about how to save the Marvel universe. Take a risk. Hard R Blade.
yes.
Have we thought about this? So let us say how many years has it been since 2008 when Iron Man come out? 2008. Come on, was it 15 years? Should we say 15 years?
Yeah, let's say that.
Let's pretend it's 15 because my maths is shit. You were 15 when Iron Man came out. You're now 30. You've grown up with this. Like I said with Star Wars, I always thought that they should have pitched the prequels at 20 somethings and not at children. Now you're in this situation where 15-year-old Russ started and loved Iron Man. He's grown up with Marvel movies. He's fallen out of love with them because they're crap. You've now got the chance to take a risk. You can now make a hard R Blade, full frontal nudity, shagging, vampires, shirts been ripped, throats been torn out, heads been cut off.
Mhm.
Give me that. Give me that.
Yes.
Because what will happen? What will happen to a PG-13 tepid, bloodless cuck Blade
It's
movie?
called Twilight.
Yeah, it just be cuck Blade getting owned by his daughter and by the female villain. Yeah, and what will happen with that movie? It'll be a disaster,
Yeah,
probably.
it won't work because at least in Twilight, they wanted to have sex with each other.
Quite so. Now, your
Yeah.
hard R full frontal nudity, tits and throats and blood decapitation Blade might also be a disaster, but it might be a massive success. Whereas you can put your mortgage on PG-13 cuck Blade landing like a damn squib and nobody, because it's not going to deliver what it's going to be too mature for teens, not mature enough for grown-ups. It'll be tepid crap. Take a risk, do it. There you go. That might save you.
I think we found the answer, people. I knew that this networking 2-hour networking thing would work. We figured it out. Bruce Lamb says changing of clothes, subtle flash nudity, okay. Not meant to arouse. This would become naturally part of a scene. We've seen this in many movies. Bonzo says change the name of Skinemax to RM Max. Yes. Why can't we have an NC-17 movie rating as an option in all American theaters? God bless movies like Blue is the Warmest Color. Thank you so much, France. Praying. Bruce says a Room with a View, Charlotte, played by Maggie Smith. That's the actress. Gas says 3 naked guys are running past her and Lucy. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, and Jamin C says this is why I love watching late 90s B thrillers with Angie Everhart. Shannon Tweed, yes, Jamin D, Shannon Tweed all the way.
Shannon Worry was my favorite one.
He's good
And
too. She's good too.
Animal Instincts 1 and
Mhm.
2.
And guys, thank you so much for watching Sunday Brunch live. We will be back next week. Hashtag please be kind. Nude Amazons. Absolutely. I'll take some. It doesn't have to be a particular group, just as long as they are beautiful and have beautiful bodies. And I think there are a lot of people with so many different types of shapes out there that we see a lot of beauty. As I always say, the thing um about Baywatch was that they had women who had different figures, and I really like that, especially. And I always talk about this actress who looks like a professional swimmer.
Alexandra Paul.
Oh, I love,
I
like,
think she was a swimmer. I think she was some sort of swimming champion.
I
Memory
love
serves.
the, like, she's so toned but very, like, a feminine shape. Like, I'm like, her body is so beautiful. I like that too, and we had that in Baywatch. They thought about that. They were very careful in the casting of that show to give us different physiques of people. Um, yes, Penelope Cruz is a sexy. Isn't she wonderful? Oh, she's not nude. I'm sorry, Russ. But there is a sex scene. I thought she took her shirt off while they were having sex.
She's done nudity before,
Yeah,
and
she
well, they
has.
all have, haven't they? Selma Hayek and Penelope Cruz and all that.
Well, one of the best nude scenes of Selma Hayek has to be, is it in El Mariachi where she has sex with
Antonio Banderas.
yeah, that's a great scene.
I remember in the one where she's running into the ocean.
That's great too.
Yeah,
Um
that's
but
that's seared into my memory. That one.
because it was just in El Mariachi, it was just pure fun, like
Mm,
like you were riding the excitement of, like, that sex drive, and it
mm,
didn't matter, like, it was you were just, like, on a high with them.
mm.
You don't always get sex scenes like that, but that one with Selma and Antonio Banderas, that was like, I was like, oh my god, I'm like I was just like, I can't watch the sex scene, it's too arousing. Of course I watched it many times, but yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here for Sunday Brunch. Russ, where can people find you?
You can find me normally here and sometimes over on Roman Empire Matters, and or just drop me an email at russellwhitfield.com, contact at russellwhitfield.com. But more importantly, where can they find you, RM?
Of course, guys, make sure you subscribe to Russ's Amazon storefront as well, and check out his Gladiatrix series. We're going to be talking about that coming up on Roman Empire Matters, my new channel. We have one episode up there. I'm going to put more on there. I have another episode, and there's going to be more content for Roman Empire Matters coming out this year, including Russ's Gladiatrix series, which is absolutely spectacular. Guys, you can always find me here on Positive Fandom. You can also find me on the Burnettwork as well. Guys, I am currently reviewing The Pacific with Darth Plato, an incredible series. You guys have to check it out. You won't be disappointed. We're doing the last two episodes on Friday. And then after that, Darth Plato and I are going to be doing Masters of the Air. It's going to be incredible. The Pacific has been an incredible series. I've been crying my eyes out after each episode because of the intensity of some of these war scenes, but I also have been enjoying it. The performances have been stellar. Um, but do also check out other shows as well. Want to thank everybody who supported me today, and Russ. Russ, always thank you for being here, and
Only a
also my
pleasure.
my moderator, Tom Jr. Jackson, who has been such a great friend. We are all good people, guys. And remember, yeah, go ahead and check out Ferrari, guys. It's a great film. I think that film should be nominated for a few awards. I don't know if it will be, but the performances were amazing. And
I
guys,
recommend you check out Animal Instincts 1 and 2 with Shannon Worry.
I agree, guys. Certainly do check those out as well. Um, and as my own at the beginning, that's why I'm like, why does it say hello? Because they're all the way at the front of the comments. Thank you so much, everybody. Shogun, yes, Stubble talks about Shogun. Maybe we'll be doing that as well. But certainly, thank you for joining us for everything, guys. And of course, here we're talking about Alexander Paul and the Pierce Brosnan TV movies, Death Train, Night Watch with Patrick Stewart. Love those movies. Thank you, Jamin
Can't
D.
say I have, Jamin. No.
Guys, thank you so much for guys and gals. Thank you so much for the super chats. We got a super chats from Maria with Tea and Telly for $2. Thank you so much, my dear, as well as Irene Jobson. And I just want to wish everybody have a wonderful week coming up. We'll be back next week for more Sunday brunch. Thanks for the support. And remember, guys, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. Take
Thanks so
care,
much,
everybody.
everyone. Bye now.